10, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Magic After Dark. My name's... He's still counting. He's still counting. I'm not sure. My name's Ryan Edwards. This is...
Who plays Sarah? Welcome everybody to the stream, Magic After Dark. Ryan was so excited that he was watching the stream in the background.
I was like, why am I hearing it again?
You couldn't get enough of the show.
I'll be honest.
You need to hear me twice.
This is the first time that I've ever put YouTube on the other monitor just to watch at the same time, and I'm always like, just so I can see more comments and stuff coming in live, and I go, I should put it on my other computer. But before the stream starts, you can't mute it. So that was the situation. Someone says no whoosh. Should we just let's just start this again? Let's just start this again. We'll do 3, 2, 1. Here we go.
All right. And we're here. Our silly antics will never be wasted.
This is a crazy beginning.
It's at a quality you can't beat. That is absolutely true.
This beats falling off the chair, though. Gotta say.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We saved it.
Awkward entrance of all time. But
today we have a very special episode for all y'all.
For all y'all.
Yeah. Us Northerners. That's how we talk, right?
That's it. That's it.
For all y'all. But our guest, he might be more apt to say y'all.
Yeah.
Because he's from Texas. Now, tonight is our first ever different style doubleheader. We've had 2 guests in the past, but this time we're going to have 2 full-length interviews as well as a panel discussion in between, because we're like a full-on talk show now.
That's it.
It's incredible, you know?
Every week
we leveled up. Every day bringing something new.
We got lots of new surprises tonight in the store.
Yes, so. We have a lot of new surprises tonight, and we're so excited to kick them off. But we have a great discussion planned later on regarding NFTs, this technology that's been buzzing all throughout 2021. And we're going to be really diving deep into that and how it relates to magic and how magicians can take advantage of this new medium. But first, we've got to hear about the life of our friend. Should we bring him in now or just leave him waiting? Leave him hanging. I just see him in the corner, awkwardly waiting for when I'm going to click the button.
I love it. Xavier already said that that's the reason he is here, to see those other surprises.
Yes. So let's bring him in. Mr. Bow, bow, bow. We're a real talk show now, but we can't afford sound effects.
Yeah, we need to bring in some more budget sound effects.
Mr. Giancarlo Bernini. Welcome to the show, man.
There were so many false starts to that.
This is the first time I was like, why is Blaze recounting? I was like, it's like 3, 2, 1, and I go, shh. And then it was like 7, 6, and I was like, what? Why is he recounting?
What is he
recounting
doing?
Himself in? That's what I thought. I was like,
dude, I just give myself a second counted.
Yeah, I was like, usually I just announce Blaze coming in and he comes in, but yeah, it was an interesting start tonight. So
well, we're here.
Yes,
we made it. We made it. We're all in one.
You guys have like matching backgrounds, and I'm here with my little curtain. So
it matches, you know. It fits the vibe.
Exactly. Yeah. See, the chair back here is gray, and it kind of goes into the curtains, which is
so
I like that. It's almost perfect.
That's what the bottom of his chair looks like. It's just bleeding curtains.
It's bleeding down.
Yeah.
That's why the camera set that high.
Beautiful.
Like our previous episode where we went into Attack of the Killer Sofa with Chris May. That's Attack of the Killer Sofa. It's bleeding curtain.
Did put on a terrible movie right after that. Just and I don't even remember what it was because it was so bad. It's just like I looked through. It was is it Pixel Movie or something like that? I don't know. It's some free movie service thing. And so when it's free, it's bad.
Oh, yeah. I was told that Velocipaster is actually not that bad. It's actually a really funny, bad movie. So maybe we'll have to check that out. Speaking of pastor, Ryan Edwards.
What a segue.
That is the best segue I've heard. Yeah,
dude. What if you introduced yourself and you're like, I actually used to be a velocipaster. I do mentalism now, but I used to be a velocipaster.
I'm gonna do that.
Jeez. Now, Ryan? Did you do any church gigs when you were starting out? Because I know that Giancarlo, our guest, that is a large part of his market, and so I'm fascinated about the similarities there and what it's like with that kind of market. Because I haven't done a lot of church shows before. I don't think I've done any.
No, absolutely not. I would never perform mentalism at church. It's of the devil. No, I'm joking. Yeah, I did a lot of church shows back in the day. I still do church shows. I still guest speak at churches on Sunday morning sometimes as well, which is always fun. But yeah, and I would love to hear Giancarlo's side of it as well, because
what has your experience been in that market as a magician? I know you talk about it in your Fool Us intro, that you do a lot of church shows and things. So what was your journey with that?
Journey with that was mainly trying to figure out whether I wanted to go into ministry full time or I wanted to do magic full time, and I wasn't sure. And I really, for a long time, didn't think you could do both. But I read that, and this is something that kind of stuck with me, which is that art, by its very nature, points people to God, even if there's no message attached to it, just by virtue of it being something beautiful. And so that changed my way of thinking and thinking, you know what, even if I can do a church show, but even if I'm performing for a corporate audience, even if I'm performing for, whatever, it is still full-time ministry if that's where my heart is in showing something beautiful and encouraging people to pursue truth, beauty, goodness. And that's kind of what I say in the Fool Us intro, is truth, beauty, goodness. That's the main goal of the lens through which I try to see my magic and put magic in that sense. So
interesting. And what brought you to that set of, say, criteria, that set of goals to shoot for, of specifically truth, beauty, and goodness as what you'd like to convey in your magic? Yes.
So I'm Roman Catholic, and in Catholic philosophy, those are called the Transcendentals. It's a Thomist philosophy, which is truth, beauty, and goodness are. It's not simply not just things that describe God, but they are what God is. God is truth itself. God is beauty itself, goodness itself. And so in my head, if I can give someone a true, beautiful, good experience, I'm giving them something worth holding on to. And I also tried to, I guess, to bring it into the synthesis of that in magic. I tried to figure out where those things apply to magic. And I figure, the definition of a magic trick is an illusion presented theatrically for entertainment. An illusion is all about discerning truth. Entertainment is about doing something good for someone else. Theater is about showcasing in a beautiful way. So you have all those three elements inherently in magic. I think, in fact, magic is one of the easiest art forms that can translate all three of those mediums together.
Interesting.
That's really fascinating. Yeah. And anybody that's watching, I think that it's a fascinating discussion. And even if you're not a religious person, I think that it's something that's interesting for you to hear when it comes to what you can convey artistically in your magic, outside of just the evoking of the emotion astonishment from a spectator. If you're interested in being a magician, you can do more than just make them go, wow. You can actually reach, many different emotional centers in their brain if you want to attack it in a scientific way. Or if you want to think of it in a religious or spiritual way, you can give somebody a very spiritual experience that isn't trying to convert them necessarily or proselytize, but does ring true in a certain way. Now, do you specifically talk about God in your performance, or because when you're talking about how incorporating those criteria, those tenets points people to God, does it do that just by virtue of the magic being beautiful, or do you need to also nudge them? Are you trying to do that? Are you trying to make it a message about God, or are you just trying to put on a beautiful piece that inspires in a certain way?
I think so when I'm doing my church shows, when I'm performing in front of a church audience and I'm being brought in specifically to give a religious message, I will add into my show a talk on something theological. But when I'm performing for, a secular audience, maybe a corporate show or a college show, I just put extra emphasis on making sure that the magic is beautiful, that it is artistic, because even then, when someone opens their heart to receiving something artistic, something true, something beautiful, something good, I don't have to mention, Jesus. I don't have to say those words. All I have to do is give them, not that I shouldn't, of course, but if I give them that experience of truth, beauty, and goodness, their hearts are open to seeking that. And, if I really believe that, my faith is the truth, which I do, then anyone who is seeking truth in general so anyone who is, I guess let's put it this way. All I have to do is encourage people to seek truth wholeheartedly in general. And I don't have to worry about, the rest of that, because if they're seeking truth, they're going to find it, that's my hope.
That's a very fascinating perspective. The idea of having your magic and your performance be continually pursuing truth and encouraging people to pursue truth, especially considering that many people associate magic as a very deceptive art. And so how do you reconcile deception with honesty and truthfulness?
Yeah, I think that comes in with character. I think that comes in with the character that you play on stage, and you showcase that, you're an honest person and you're performing for the sake of giving them entertainment and not, deceitfulness. I'm not a big fan of disclaimers. Because I do a ton of mentalism, and I, like, do you tell everyone, like, oh, by the way, guys, it's just an illusion? No, because I don't think that's necessary. You don't go see a play and, the guy playing Peter Pan doesn't come out at the beginning. You're like, by the way, guys, I'm not really Peter Pan. Like, you understand, you're in a theater, you're watching a show. And I think that's understood. I don't think the disclaimer is necessary. But I think that there has to be some degree of honesty coming across, in that they know why you're here and they know why you're doing the tricks. There is one piece of my show where I acknowledge, hey, this is an illusion. It's when I do the linking rings. And I do the linking rings I do just a 2-ring routine. And it's not really about the rings. It's about a monologue I do with the rings. And it's about perspective and illusion. And during that routine, I do mention, I say, everything you're seeing me do is an illusion. And I do it there. But I've also seen so many bad Christian magicians just these cheesy with that aspect. By the way, guys, it's all an illusion. Nothing is real. That's just so cringe. And here's the thing that I want to say is, because I figure, man, I hate this. If you've seen a Christian magician in your life,
if you said names,
That's the best part.
you said give us names right now.
There's a lot of good ones. There's a lot of really good. I can name a ton of really good ones. And then you can figure out who the rest are. But because there's not that many good ones.
But process of elimination.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's a lot of really good Christian magicians out there. But the problem with most of them is they either have really cheesy magic and really great at preaching, but they have a really cheesy magic show. Very, here's the white silk and it turns, or the red silk and it turns white, representing, it's like, cringe. And then there's also the guys who are really good at magic, but they don't really understand the faith. And so they get up there and they go, here are 3 linking rings and they represent the Trinity. And you're like, no, it doesn't. That metaphor doesn't work at all, actually. So for me, when I say magic has to be truth, beauty, and goodness, what I mean by that is the magic has to be good. It's not evangelism. You're not doing your job. You're not, pointing people to God if you don't have a freaking great show and people aren't blown away. The magic has to be good. Otherwise, you're not doing it. And you're brought in as an entertainer and as an artist, and you're pointing people to God through a medium of art. You have to be a good artist, right? So that's my big thing is if the magic isn't good, you're not. You can't just throw in a Christian message and call it evangelization through magic.
Yeah, no, 100%. Now, here's a question, and it came off of Blaze's question talking about astonishment, because I've had this debate with a guy that I'm working on directing a new show, and we were talking about how every magic trick really has the art of astonishment. When you go down to the bare bones of it, and it's like, okay, yeah, wow, there has to be a wow factor in every routine. So I want to ask you both, because I don't think that there needs to be, but I don't think there's enough people doing tricks that don't have that. You know what I mean? Like, the first thing magicians think about is, okay, what's the kicker going to be? Or, what's the main effect and then the kicker? And it's like, and so I was talking to him about, doing something like, balancing things, where I don't think that there is a true art of astonishment there, other than maybe, wow, that's really cool. But I think if it's done right, it could be done really beautifully. Just don't think people have done it really well to this day. Anyways, but yeah, I'd love to hear what you guys think about that. Because obviously you're on stage, you're performing for these people, trying to make it beautiful to represent what you're talking about, or not even so much talking, but trying to show people through what you're doing on stage. If you're speaking to a secular group, there we go, can't get that word out. So does that come into factor for you, where it's like, are you thinking about, when you're developing routines and stuff, what is the art of astonishment here? Or does it matter at all in that case, if you're focusing on the beauty of the trick?
I'd love to hear Giancarlo's answer. I have thoughts on it as well. And we've discussed this too.
So. We have. Yeah. But, and I know Blaze is going to add some great stuff, but I'll say, like, I think different tricks have different pieces of magic have different textures. And, you can have, a trick that has, you can have the build up where it's kind of like, you're kind of proving the impossible, like, no way. And then, like, what? And then you have that escalation. But you can also have the kind of magic that's like, or the kind of, I'm thinking about that Darren, what's coming to mind right now is I'm thinking about Darren Brown. And I'm thinking about how Darren Brown opened one of his shows talking about how life isn't like a climb to some kind of climax, but rather a piece of music and you're supposed to be dancing. That just came to mind, his little monologue on that. And it's like, you enjoy the piece of music the whole time. You don't have to wait for the big finale to the song. And it's just a texture in the show. So different pieces of magic have different textures. And I think that's the artistic side of it, is it's the art is in balancing that within your routine. So some routines have a big kicker ending. Some routines have just more of an artistic flow. And I think it's more about how you structure those together, how you balance them out. My philosophy is always start off by giving them what they came for in the first 3-4 tricks. Like, if I try to think, like, when someone is coming to my show, what exactly are they expecting me to see? Like, not just because a lot of magicians come out breaking stereotypes, but I'm like, no. So if someone paid money to see my show, they paid money because they wanted something. Yep. And so I want to give them what they came for, kind of exceed those expectations. So I used to have a show called Mythos, and that show was all about Greek mythology. It was a really fun narrative show, and I kind of promoted it as a show, kind of like using magic to bring myths to life. And so I know people are coming, and what they're expecting is they want me to be talking about famous myths and doing tricks that relate to them. And so I just bombarded them with that the first 10-15 minutes of the show, and then after that I give them what I want to give them, which is what is myth, what is myth in our culture today, and all these things that they didn't know they were going to get. So anyway, I'm rambling at this point, but yeah, those are my
for sure.
I mean, I think when it comes to astonishment as an emotion, I think that we oftentimes forget the fact that astonishment is evoked whenever you experience something that is, I think, on the brink of possibility, So it's like, it doesn't necessarily have to be something that seems impossible in order for someone to be astonished. Like, for example, if you see, if you see a performer, that's say a musician that, and I feel like an example that I like to give, but I feel like I need to measure when I give this example is because I'm talking about the art that the person has created, not the person, is like if you watch like Michael Jackson, I feel like Michael Jackson in his shows evoked more astonishment than most magicians have or ever will. And there were certain magic moments in what he did with things like the Smooth Criminal lean, where there are some people that see that and they're like, whoa, that doesn't seem possible. And then there are other people that are like, I totally understand the methodology behind that, but I'm absolutely astonished by the perfection of the choreography and the performance of that piece. And I think that whenever you show something that I guess, if we were to go back to what Giancarlo was giving as criteria, is, honest, but honestly beautiful and good, then it tends to evoke those emotions, but and then some, So I think that what you're describing as like a balancing effect would be astonishing, but it's not that when people look at that, because, okay, here's the thing is that people conflate the idea of astonishment with fooling.
Yeah.
And fooling someone is not the entire goal of magic. I think that, in certain instances, you want it to be a prerequisite. Like, I just want, regardless of what I do, I want them to at least think that this, is something special that they've never seen before and don't understand how it works. But then I want them to experience the actual theatrical and emotional element of this on top of that. That is the real essence of it. It's almost like, I was listening to Seth Rogen talking the other day in an interview, and he was talking about the difference between plot and story, and I think that oftentimes we get so bogged down as magicians in the plot of the effect and like, oh, this is the effect, so I'm going to just do this. When we forget that we have everything that an actor has on stage. We have everything that a comedian has on stage. Like, a comedian's able to walk out there and doesn't have any of the props that we hide behind, yet is able to, sell way more tickets than us and evoke way more emotions from the audience than just astonishment, because their actual scripting in the story compels the audience to feel more than that. So I think, for us, astonishment is a baseline, which is the fact that any magic trick you do will naturally evoke some astonishment, at least in my mind. Like, I can't really think of a magic trick off the top of my head that isn't somewhat astonishing.
That's fair.
Unless it's done poorly. But then, then that's just the baseline. Then there's the performance where you can actually make them feel so much more.
Right.
No, for sure.
And I think one example that's coming to mind for me as well is in Copperfield's current show, which you guys, well, Blaze knows, you might not know, I'm a ginormous Copperfield fan, but he comes out and he does the motorcycle appearance, classic. He makes the car appear, classic. He does all the big Copperfield stuff.
Yeah,
and then he does the new thing with the alien. I'm not going to give away if anyone hasn't seen the show, but with his whole new routine with the alien, he has, small things appearing and disappearing. And it's kind of like, well, we already know he can make stuff appear. He made the car appear. He made the motorcycle appear. But it's so much more powerful, at least in my opinion, because you have this incredible story that's almost like a short film within a show, that it's crazy cool. And it's so realistic. And it's not one trick, but one story. So I think that's a great example of that. There's moments of astonishment, but they're embedded within a larger fabric of, Yeah.
And especially nowadays, like, for example, I was just scrolling through TikTok today, right? And a video popped up that had, I think, 4 million likes and over 11 million views, and it was a guy just exposing the full methodology for the card to watch trick that was very popular, like came out last year. And you've seen so many magicians do it over social media, but this guy was like, oh, here's exactly where you can buy this, here's this, and it has way more views than the person he was replying to who was performing the trick. He did like a Stitch video where he's reacting to the person's video, he has way more views exposing the method to it. So I think that shouldn't be discouraging to magicians. That should be encouraging to magicians. That the art of magic is not simply a bunch of methods that fool people. Just fooling is not the entire goal. The context of the effect is so much more important than the content of the effect. And magic can be an illustration within a larger story. And you wouldn't just show somebody a bunch of pictures and expect that they're going to grasp the entire story, you know?
Yeah, no, definitely. I like Fabian said, aiming solely for astonishment is too low. It has to be supplemented, which I like. That's yeah,
that's absolutely true. And I definitely like I like that he said G is Copperfield's son. Bryce.
Thanks, Bryce. Appreciate you. No.
But I find that happens all the time with magic, and maybe you two have had the same experience where, you know, you're talking to someone about your show, and the very first question, it almost reminds me of like when you're at the gym and you're talking to some guy and he goes, well, how much can you bench? Right? The first question that every magician asks another magician about their show is, well, what tricks do you do? Right? And it's like, well, how much can you bench press? What tricks do you do? Oh, you do that trick? Oh, my show is better than yours. And it's, and you know, and we judge, or like, I don't know, say we, but I'm going to blanket and say we do that a lot in the magic community, where we ask each other, oh, what do you do in your show? Oh, and I know I've got angry at people and said, like, it doesn't matter, you know, what tricks I do. It's how I connect with the audience, how I present myself, how the presentations of the routines are and stuff. I said, you know, I could do any trick and potentially, you know, do it better than the next person, because it's not about the trick at the end of the day. And I like that. It's like what the client remembers is you, right? And how genuine you are when delivering that. So
Totally.
Yeah. Gold nuggets all night, folks. Gold nuggets all night.
Wait, so we can do that, but we can't get sound effects?
Yeah, well, that's Blaze making that sound.
Well, that's me making the sound effect. It's really more of like I can't control it. I just it just comes out of me, man.
I see.
Yeah, it's not that we need the sound to happen.
I see.
It's more that I can't refrain from it happening.
That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. But how did you get into magic in the first place?
Oh, yes. Let me come up with a story more interesting than my dad showed me a card trick and then I got a magic set for Christmas like every other magician. That's what happened, right? I mean, I was like, someone was telling me, I mean, that is the story. And someone was telling me, it's like, you know, when someone asks you how you got into magic, they want an interesting answer. They don't want the real answer. And I was like,
I was bitten by a radioactive magician. So I sprouted magic.
So, dang. Yes. So Dad showed me a card. So I'll say this, and this is kind of, I think, more so you can get where my head is. I was fascinated by magic before I was fascinated by magicians and magic tricks. And what I mean by that is I remember when I was like 4 years old, I would watch movies like Aladdin and The Sword in the Stone. And I never identified with the main character. I always identified with the magical sidekick, like Merlin or the genie. Like that's who I always wanted to be when I watched those movies. And I remember watching Fantasia and watching Mickey Mouse put the wizard's hat on and the broomsticks dance around. And that's when I'm like, I want that hat, right? And I remember these things vividly. Like this is who so when my dad showed me this card trick later, this kind of like sparked this like, wait, this thing, like this is the closest thing I've seen in real life to these movies that I loved as a kid and to these characters and to being able to be those people. And so that is kind of why I think I stuck with it. And then of course, you know, in school helps, you know, I wasn't a very social, I was a very awkward kid, wasn't very social. And so magic helps, you know, that's the traditional story, but then started doing shows at school. So here's a fun thing is when I was in high school, I would do magic shows at the dances because I didn't know how to dance. I don't know how to dance. And so I was always very
Most
awkward.
magicians don't. Most magicians don't.
We supplement magic with rhythm.
Yeah, I've made another blanket statement. But if there are magicians out there that can dance, I'm sorry, but most of us probably can't. So,
yeah. And the thing about that, so I remember trying, because of the Mickey Mouse, because of the dancing broomsticks video, I tried to do the dancing cane, kind of like to that with a broomstick, and I gave up on it because I didn't know how to dance, so it didn't look right. It just looked weird. Because the cane was dancing, but I wasn't. So I'm really awkward at those dances, and I really didn't enjoy them much. So I went into student council, but I also know that there's other kids who also like didn't know how to dance, or didn't felt awkward to dance. So I went to student council. I was like, hey, dance is in the cafeteria. Can I do a magic show in one of the classrooms during the school dances for the kids who want to break from the dance floor or the kids who don't want to dance? And that ended up becoming a staple of the school dances every year. Is they would have the big dance, and then every 20 minutes I'd be doing a show in one of the classrooms, and kids would just come in and out. And so from there, I kind of transitioned into doing more performances at college, and then Fool Us and church shows kind of snowballed from there.
nice. My
So what was full? What were you gonna say? Sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say my blanket statement of magicians can't dance is getting ripped up.
I know, yeah. Michael Blau. What? He can code. He can do magic. What?
I don't
leave
think
some
that's
for the
fair.
rest of
His
us. Michael.
brother's a DJ and stuff.
Yeah.
I think music is in his blood, so that's not fair.
Yeah, Favorite said, catch us at Magic Live tearing up the dance floor. I didn't even know Magic Live had a dance. Oh, wait, yeah, they do have at the party.
I have seen that dance floor, and there is not too much.
There is not much dancing at all happening on that dance floor. No.
You know how like the worst thing for magicians is like there's like a stage and then there's like a dance floor and then all the tables, and we're always like, we hate that, but then we go to Magic Live and that's what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
I always found that ironic.
So what was the transition that made you go, I want to do magic full time? Was it pre or post Fool Us?
I really wanted to do Fool Us. I started to do magic full time, and then Fool Us happened, and that kind of solidified it for me that I should give it a go. It was that moment. I didn't really have that much of a game plan graduating college. I thought I did. And then stuff fell through, and I'm stuck kind of like, well, I've got magic. And without going into details, something really big that I wanted to be a part of fell through right as I was graduating. And so I kind of had all my eggs in that basket. And then I was like, okay, well, I know how to do a show, and I'm just going to go for it. And then Fool Us happened. All right, here we go. So, I'm 2 years after graduating. I'm still figuring out, is this something I can do feasible time? But it looks like it is. And one thing for me is that, this is fun, is the like I said, I'm Catholic and I do a lot of Catholic churches. And Catholic market is not saturated at all. There's a lot of Christian illusionists out there. There are no Catholic magicians. In fact, there are magicians who happen to be Catholic, of course. And there are but there are no magicians that have a Catholic show exclusively tailored and scripted for Catholic audiences with Catholic messaging. And so, and as far as I know, I'm the only one that does that. One of my websites is Catholic.com. It's not taken. So I kind of, the reason I was able to do a lot of work when I started out was because I was kind of the shiny new toy on the market for a lot of like Catholic youth groups. Which was a lot
just so describe yourself as a shiny new toy. Carry on, sorry.
Sorry. Well, it's just like Catholic. A lot of Catholic youth groups are like, have you? It was. How do I put it? They're like, should we bring back the same like worship band that we bring back every year, or should we bring in the magicians? Should we bring up this magician? And they're all like, well, we've never had a magician before. It's like, yeah, because that was never an option before. And so that kind of got me, rolling.
Yeah.
So that's the niche. Find yourself
corner of the market.
You're the only person in that market. and it doesn't
Are
matter
there
how
really
good.
no Catholic magicians, like specifically say I'm Catholic?
I've never met one. I have some really good friends who are magicians who are Catholic. I'm talking like devout Catholics and really good magicians. I've never met a magician that has a Catholic show that markets themselves to
Should
Catholic.
make a couple tweaks to my script and take over the Northeast Catholic market. he's like, no, I already got the domain name. You can't do that. I am the Catholic magician.
I am the Catholic magician,
the one and only.
So
everybody watching right now is changing their domain names and rescripting.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, you've got all these people.
Yeah, all these. Yep.
Giancarlo, you just screwed yourself for the next.
I just gave it away.
Everybody's just going. All right. Just going.
You know,
MuslimMagician.com is it available? JewishMagician.com. I'm pretty sure Jewish Magician is not available. I'm pretty sure that was taken a long time ago.
Oh yeah, 100%.
100%.
That's crazy, but so let me ask you this, because I know I've done a bunch of church shows in the past, and I've had ones where I'm about to go and do the show, and then I get an email from the church that is like, someone at the church sent us an email about clairvoyance and mentalism and all this other stuff. And have you had that? Like, I've had it where people are like, absolutely not, you cannot do that in a church and stuff, which is funny because I was a pastor for 10 years and usually the churches know me, but it's usually the congregation members or something that have no idea that then complain or something because they're not really educated in what it is.
Totally. I've done a lot of churches shows at churches of all sorts of denominations, not just Catholic churches, and I've never had that issue at a Catholic church. At other churches, I've had things like people come up and they have to, say before, hey, this is just I remember one time I was doing a show at a pretty big church and the pastor came up right before and he was like, hey, by the way, this is just an illusion. And he gave that whole talk, which kind of I feel like bums out because he did right before the show. And I was like, if you're going to do that, do it after the show. Like, don't bum out the audience, right at the start. Like, hey, this is real. There was no tooth fairy, but I do. No, I've never had anyone complain or have an issue with that. The good thing about the whole in the Catholic Church, the good thing is you've got the whole hierarchy and the structure of the church. So I have the approval of a bishop, and if I have a bishop's approval, then everyone's like, oh, it must be fine. That's kind of how it works.
It's the politics. It's the game.
Here's the other thing. The reason that a lot of other magicians don't do shows at Catholic churches is because because I'm sure that there's other magicians who would do a show, even if they don't have message, they want to break into that market. It's hard because you have to go through all these training things. You have to get a letter of approval from a pastor, or in some cases the bishop. You have to take a specifically Catholic training course. Catholic churches are very specific. So the amount of hoops you have to jump through to do Catholic shows is really not worth it unless you're going to make Catholic shows your primary source of income.
Yeah.
That's so fascinating. That's so interesting. I had no idea that there were that many barriers to entry.
A bunch of people are now taking down those domains.
Yeah, and taking it down. They're like, man, I just booked
GoDaddy.
I just booked the _first ever Catholic magician. And they're just .com. And it's not working out. But it's so interesting because you said something earlier and a thought popped in my head, and this is kind of, I guess, a follow-up to Ryan's question, is because you were saying, I don't like to add a disclaimer. And I agree that I think we had a conversation, Giancarlo, you, me, and I think Michael on Clubhouse once about this, when we first joined, about framing your magic and if there is any need to say anything like that. And it's usually not a good thing to it's almost like if you went into a museum and then the painter was standing right next to their painting trying to give you every explanation for why they did every brush stroke. It's you should just let the piece be the piece, and let people have it be up to their interpretation. But one thing that you said was, people know they're walking into a theater, the context of the show, they know it's entertainment. But you literally are doing shows in a church.
Right.
So it's like there is a certain religious element that you might have to cross.
Of course. And that's like I'm doing shows in a church, but you know, I don't know. I think it's just my character. I'm especially if I'm doing shows in a church, then I have the Catholic messaging. I'm talking about the faith. I can show that I'm well versed in what I'm saying. And so you know, I have a degree in religious studies, so like I can talk about this stuff. And it's like I don't think that, you know, I've just never had an issue. I'm up there, I do the crazy thing. I don't get Fabian's comment.
I'm just looking at him going, this magician is certified astonishing.
But yeah, so it's, gosh, I've never had an issue. That's all I'm saying. Is really, I don't know why it's never been a thing. I do the show, I blow people's minds as best I can, and I feel like it's almost like I'm undermining myself if I have to disclaim something, because I work so hard to put on all these proofs to make sure, you know, all these convincers, we call them. We have all it's like I'm putting up all these convincers, and then why would I say, but by the way, it's not. It's just like I'm just like, there's no point in the convincers if I'm telling people it's not real. And I don't want people to believe it's real, but I want them to, you know, as we say, suspend their disbelief, you know, for a bit. And also my philosophy of magic, of what of entertainment, of what the purpose of entertainment is a little different, and we can get into that if we want to, but that also plays into it.
I'm interested in that philosophy.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and also on that, it's like the experience you're giving them is real, and the emotions that they're feeling are real, regardless of whether what they're seeing is real. You know.
Right. And so what I'll say about the philosophy is, because I can go off, I can ramble on this, so stop me if I get too long-winded. But the thing about my philosophy of entertainment is everyone talks about entertainment as escapism. It's a way to escape reality, like forget about your problems, forget about the world, go into the theater and just forget about everything and escape from the world. And it's like we go to the theater to be entertained and to escape. I hate that, because I don't think escapism is ever good. I'm not a fan of escapism in any sense. I think that the theater should be transformational. It should transform your reality, not help you escape it. So you can go into the theater and say, I'm not here to forget about my problems, but to know that there's more to life than my problems, that I can still enjoy things. I think if as magicians, regardless of, like, I'm not talking about Catholic shows or anything, I'm talking about just any kind of magic show. If we were to transition from shows that are designed to help people escape from their reality to rather shows that can transform their reality, I think we'd be hitting a whole of art. And I think that's why shows like In and of Itself are so good. I think that's the show that does that perfectly.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would say that show is a lot deeper, probably mentally as well, even than most shows. Like I always say, most magic shows are, and for the next trick, I'm going to show you this. Or, hey, check this out. Look what I can do. And it's just a bag of tricks with no story. Or there's story, but one trick doesn't relate to the next trick. It's, you know, and I find that with massively big shows as well. Like all of a sudden there's a snowstorm on stage. And before that, you were floating a rose or, you know, vanishing a girl or doing, and it's like, well, how did these things correlate? They don't at all, other than look at me, I can do magic, I'm the center of attention, right? And so I know when I've written my shows, they're all story based, and everything in the show correlates to the story, because I think then those things are transformational. But I think I would say for escapism, if you're going and watching a show that is just, hey, look at what I can do, here's the next trick, here's the next trick, here's the next trick, then I would say, okay, there's a portion of that where I could see escapism, because at some point I'm turning off my brain to go, okay, this guy or this girl, they're just doing magic. There's no thought process put into this other than just the tricks, you know. And then that's when we go back to, is it just art of astonishment then, or is there art behind it? And so I think I 100% agree, but I mean, I've seen shows in Vegas where I went, how did trick one correlate with anything else in the entire show? And it didn't, you know? And so I think a lot of times it depends on where you're going to see the show or who you're seeing, like what kind of work they actually put into it. Because like obviously in and of itself is a very, you know, emotional piece where a lot of people say it's not even magic, right? But because magic is the underlying art in the whole thing.
Of course.
But in saying that, there's some shows where it's just like, how many magic tricks can we do in an hour, right? And
Right.
like, let's have 85 tricks. So,
right. But you have like you know, we always go back to like the question of like, you know, if we really could do magic.
Yeah, I'm gonna turn my camera up. I'm
okay,
this is so funny.
my God, you were definitely frozen there for a while.
Yep.
Oh,
I was like, who's talking? Because I thought you were just sitting very still.
Yeah,
I said Blaze about to do the Harlem Shake, and I was like, what is he talking about? All right.
That's great. Oh,
here we are.
There we
We're
go.
back.
Cool.
We're back and better than ever.
Love it.
I was just deep in thought.
I was like, wow, I'm talking. He doesn't like said, oh yeah,
the man who never blinks.
Yeah, I was like, wow, this is interesting.
There's nothing behind these eyes. It's just
that whole segment wasn't transformational. Because Blaze just totally blanked.
Just totally
it was escapism for his eyes.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why I like the book Our Magic by Masculine and Devant so much, and they differentiate. You know, it's a book that's pretty much entirely theory, and they're talking about you know, art in magic versus the idea of the art of magic. You know, and I think that's a, you know, important distinction. I don't think that, you know, because I think that what you're talking about is an idealistic view of what magic has the potential to be and one aspect of what it can be because of its potential. But I don't think that if you look at what magic is or what people enjoy in magic, that necessarily reflects all of it. Because, like, you know, I think that you can put on just an entertaining show. Like, for example, if you go to see a comedian, I don't know if that necessarily, you know, that show can be an incredible show that isn't necessarily transformational. Right. You know, but there are also incredible transformational comedy shows because the art form has the potential to have that aspect, but it isn't entirely that. Like, I don't think that like a little girl putting her finger through like a thing and then having a mini guillotine pretend chop it off is like transformational. I think that it's something that fools her and evokes a certain level of astonishment, which I guess falls under the magic umbrella, but that means that but I don't think that that's necessarily art.
That is
magic
transformational for her. Mm-hmm. She's now petrified for the rest
She's
of her life.
now petrified
to be a kid.
Also, like, entertainment, just because something is entertainment doesn't mean it's good. Like, I was watching, you know, the Avatar: The Last Airbender. The show is amazing, but the movie, you know, is terrible, right? And I was watching with my roommate because we're like, I was telling my old roommate, I was like, hey, he was asking about the movie. I was like, oh yeah, it's the worst movie ever made. And we go like, what's the worst movie ever made? And that comes up as like the number one. And I was like, okay, like let's watch it just to see how bad it is. And it was so amusing and so entertaining. It's like, did we have a blast making fun of this, how bad this movie was? Yes, it was super entertaining. It helped us escape from whatever was going on that night. Should that movie have been made? No, absolutely not. You know, despite the fact that I was very entertained by it, you know, it was not good art.
Yeah, you guys have not seen Jurassic Shark, obviously.
Oh, yeah, no.
Shark. You haven't seen Lamageddon. You haven't seen Velocipaster. Have you seen Zombievers? Like, you know, we're talking real transformational stuff, man.
Yeah, but that's the thing is like, so I'll be honest. I'm a guy that I watch a lot of movies. And I usually throw it on late at night and I throw on a movie and watch it. But I will say, like, Blaze will tell you, I'm working 24/7. Blaze is always like, how do you have time to do anything? Like, you're nuts. You're always on the go doing something, building a pergola or something. And so for me, at the end of the night, like, I'll throw on one of those really stupid movies because for me, it is escaping the world for that hour where my brain can then just go, oh, this is so stupid. This is so bad. Like, yes, it's not art. It's terrible. But at the same time, I'm not thinking about all the stresses of the world. So,
Right. So maybe I was a little too hard. I shouldn't say that escapism is always bad, but I definitely think that it shouldn't be a lot of people put it as say it's the goal. Obviously, the point of magic is to help people escape from the reality, and that I think is setting the bar way too low.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I mean, you can also just allow someone to experience a part of reality that they didn't think what they had never, conceived of before, which
Right.
can be a beautiful experience, but doesn't mean that you're trying to have them escape from the actual present moment. Sometimes, you're just enhancing the moment.
Right. No, I agree.
Yeah.
Now we have the time has come.
Is it right? Are we ready?
The time has come.
This is a new
For
Yeah,
this is this is the execution phase where
See how it goes.
this is the part of the show where we bring in our special guest. Well, we're both very special, but at this moment, because you're already here, he is the new special guest. He's taking your spot. He's stolen your thunder. Now, Giancarlo, recently this year, you've gotten interested in a thing called NFTs, correct?
Right.
And you made a lot of news. I was hearing from a bunch of people that are not in the magic world about you because of NFTs.
I want to know who these people are.
a lot of people, actually. A lot of people that have nothing to do with magic were like, have you heard of this Giancarlo guy? So,
Well,
now that we're going to talk about NFTs, I'd like to bring in another friend of mine, Mr. Michael Blau. Thank you for joining the show, man.
There he is.
yo.
Welcome.
Oh, Michael.
He's muted. Unmute your mic. You mute yourself. Oh, no.
Oh, boy,
I'm here.
there you go.
He's here.
Okay.
We're good.
I
What's
just gotta
up?
say, this is so exciting because this is like my first time I've ever been asked to be on a podcast. So I'm like very excited for this. This is great.
This is good. Dude,
That's awesome.
We're so happy to have you.
Michael, I was telling Blaze the other day that you came to my show like 2 years ago. So, I mean, like,
Wait. Wasn't it someone who looked like me?
yeah, it was the guy who looked identical. Dude.
Right. I
But
remember that story. Yeah, it's funny.
I do like Fabian said, if this turns into a concert, I'm leaving. So
I'm not the DJ. My brother's the DJ. I just do like card tricks. I don't know if you guys do those too, but
we actually just wanted to bring you on to see you dance, and then we're gonna kick you off.
Yeah, you said you could. We heard you could dance.
Yeah.
well, look, Fabian said it. Dance floor, Magic Live 2022. We're there. It's gonna happen.
That's it. Yeah, that's.
We're
the
gonna put
guy.
that on Magic After Dark, the full
Right.
segment of terrible dancing at Magic Live.
Oh no, it's not gonna be terrible. It's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be amazing.
It's gonna be amazing. Showing you dance moves you've never seen before.
Oh yeah, you have no idea. I have
Yeah,
a
I'm
whole
gonna put
4 years of
I'm going to
college.
put wagers on this.
Yeah.
Just
I
put it
call
out
this.
there.
I call this move astonishing? Question mark.
Yeah.
Yeah. All
I
right.
got $100 right now that says this is.
That's fake Monopoly money, you
Yeah,
Canadian.
It's not real
plastic.
money.
Look, I can't even rip it.
Yeah,
Can't even rip it. Yeah, if it's money, if it's real, then rip it up.
Can't rip it.
It's not crypto. I don't care.
Yeah.
Cryptos. Now, Michael, you just came back from a crypto convention.
Yes.
How was that? I saw that you were chilling with Andre and Doug McKenzie and stuff over there.
Yeah, we were there actually really at the tail end of my time in Miami, but man, it was wild. I told my dad, I was talking to my dad, it's like Magic Live times 30 is like exactly what this was, except instead of it was card tricks, everyone was just talking about like what cryptocurrency or decentralized finance or NFT project they're involved in. It was very exciting. It was very fun.
I was going to say where most of the people just trying to talk and figure out exactly what it is.
Actually,
It's like,
be surprised. No, this was sort of like, so the crypto community is like primarily like digital, like
Yeah.
just 'cause, I mean, it's crypto, but also the past year we've just been inside. So this is like, I think it was even crazier than it normally would have been because everyone is like meeting everyone for the first time in person. And, you know, everyone has their own thing, but for the most part, most people here, they know exactly what NFTs are, exactly what crypto is, DeFi. They've been users of it for years. But there was certainly, I would say there was a good portion of people there that actually just came all the way to Miami just to learn. Like they were like, we know that this is this huge topic of discussion now. It's becoming more mainstream. Let's just go to Miami where like everyone's talking about it and just like listen to what they have to say and learn from them, which was kind of refreshing. But it's funny because like Magic Live, I think I only went to the conference for actually only 45 minutes. Everything else happens outside the conference. So, yeah.
Like Magic Live.
Like Magic Live, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Exactly.
Huh. I'm just like imagining I mean, I guess it's just you're just hanging out, chilling. Like there's no, like, I guess it's like a jam almost, but you're just kind of chatting.
Yeah.
Because there's no show, right?
Yeah,
like,
no
what is
show.
the show? It's like, I mean, you could have lectures, I guess.
If Magic Live was only lectures.
Yeah, it'd be Magic Live without shows.
Lectures, hanging out. There's definitely, I think there's probably like some jamming on like ideas, not like card tricks though. Just like everyone has a project they're working on, everyone's sharing it and helping each other out, which is kind of interesting. Yeah, it was really fun. I'm very tired now though.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Did you wait? Here's the question: did you get more sleep at Magic Live or there?
I got more sleep at Magic Live.
Wow.
Actually, you know what?
That's a statement.
Wow.
You know, here's what I'll say. I'll say that the thing about the difference is that it's kind of hard because Magic Live is like 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
It's kind of spread out, where this is like 2 days really. So it was like 2 days of no sleep. So I felt like I got more sleep at Magic Live, but in reality, it might not be the case. So
Yeah.
Did you get any insight on whether Doge is going to go up? Because like I'm struggling here.
So I'll tell you what's funny. So at the Bitcoin conference, so okay, no doubt, the majority of people at this conference are like maximalists, right? These people are like Bitcoin or nothing, okay? And some guy, you can find this on YouTube, I think, or Twitter, literally jumped on stage in the middle of a talk, was like, everyone, we have an emergency, stop the conference. He ripped off his clothes and he was wearing a Doge outfit. He was like, to the moon. And he got carried off by security. It was hilarious.
Oh my God.
So funny. That was the only interaction of Doge.
It's now going down another 10%.
Yeah. First it was Elon, then it was that guy. It was just, they sabotaged him.
What can you say, right?
That was actually Elon.
That was actually Elon in disguise.
I wouldn't have put it past him.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Or if he paid the guy to do it. One of the two.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Now, now that we're in the crypto world with this discussion, I think first off, I'd like to kick off this NFT discussion talking with both of you about Clubhouse, because I feel like there's a huge movement on Clubhouse where everybody's doing their talks about NFTs on there, or at least when things were really kicking off. That was where I saw every single room on there suddenly just became all NFTs all the time. And I imagine, is that where you found out about it originally, Giancarlo?
Yeah, I was in a room talking Magic. It was one of the times that Deadmau5 joined in. And so we got all these random listeners that weren't into Magic, but we were talking about Magic. And someone messaged me afterwards and they were like, hey, have you heard about NFTs? Ray Jenko, who is an attorney from New York, he was like, hey, have you heard of this thing called NFTs? And I was like, no, I'd never heard of it before. And so he hops on a Zoom with me. We talk about it. And he's like, you should look into the applications of this in Magic. And so he and I worked together on that project, which we can get into in a bit. But yeah, it was on Clubhouse. Someone brought it up to me because they were interested in how it could be applied to Magic. But it wasn't even in an NFT room.
And you ended up minting what was the first Magic NFT. And it was interesting that both of you have minted Magic NFTs, but with totally different demographics and purposes behind doing it. Because I think, Giancarlo, you were interested in the utility of a Magic NFT that was like exchange of rights for effects and methods between magicians, like magician to magician. Whereas, Michael, yours was an NFT that does an effect for you, and so is not for magicians. It's marketed towards anybody, you know. And so I'm interested in that, you know, getting into those logistics and how how NFTs can be used in the Magic world in both of those contexts. But when did you first hear about NFTs, Michael? Because I know that you've been in the crypto world and in the tech space for a long time.
Yeah. So I first heard about NFTs back in 2017 when my brother was working on the first crypto music festival. And the long story short is it actually doesn't really do it anymore, but he did one. And the idea was you would have this token on the blockchain, and if you own that token, you would have a share in the music festival and would be able to like do things such as vote on the lineup. The music festival was called OMF, or Our Music Festival, as in it was owned by the fans. They would have a right to the cash flows of the festival. And a part of the event, which my brother did end up doing, was he had a QR code on him at all times. And it was if you found him at the event, if you found him at the festival, the first 50 people to scan his QR code got some limited digital NFT of some piece of, it wasn't even art. It was just like a token of like, hey, you found Blau, right? So that was the first time that I heard of NFTs. The first time I heard of NFTs in relation to artists and artwork was directly a summer ago, which is when DeFi, or decentralized finance, is a huge part of the Ethereum network, and it's a huge part of crypto. When that sort of took off in DeFi summer of 2020, when everyone was in their homes in quarantine, my brother came to me and was like, Michael, you're never going to believe this. There are people actually selling digital art. And I was like, what? What is that? So that's when I heard of it in relation to artwork. But I've known about NFTs for since 2017, just through my brother.
So your brother's been really deep in that game for quite a while. And
yes.
Interesting. Because I had imagined, just because of the fact that you went to school for programming and everything, that like you would have been the one to introduce him to it. But that's very fascinating.
Yeah.
That, like,
Well, you'd be surprised is like, you know, universities are maybe a little behind in the sense that like I think there's maybe one class I took in school where I actually learned about cryptocurrency in one of my finance courses. But other than that, nothing else. So, yeah, you really just learn on my own.
So, Giancarlo, what was your process? Like you said, we would get into it in a bit. The bit has come. What was your process like for, minting your first NFT and deciding to put out a Magic NFT that was for magicians? Right.
So what the idea was when I first heard about what an NFT was, and we were brainstorming how would this apply to the Magic community. Like you said, the idea was create an NFT that gives you access to a secret, to a trick. So in the Magic community, you would now be able to track who has the performance rights, or perhaps even the building rights. If we talk about an illusion, you can track. You can claim ownership for an effect. So you can say, I created this effect without publishing it in a magazine, without publishing it in a book. So really without giving away the secret, because if you want to claim ownership for something, the best way to do it right now is to put it in print, but then you're giving it to anyone who owns a copy of it. But with an NFT, you can publicly say like, hey, this is my NFT. I'm claiming ownership of it. I created this trick, but you don't, anyone can see it, but only if you own it can you see the secret. So you don't have to give away the secret to claim. That was the biggest thing for me. I also thought there were some ideas in terms of how to make Magic be seen more as art. So I think that NFTs and the art world are going to continue to grow together, and NFTs are going to become more integrated with the art world. And if Magic can get involved with that, then Magic will be perceived as an art more by the general public. And then there's also the idea of, if in the future there are copyright protections and patents that are available to magicians, that become available to NFTs, how would that translate? How would that benefit us in the Magic world? So, and all this stuff that I'm saying is coming into all these brainstorming sessions of what do we do with this thing? Because what happened at that point, at the very beginning when we were talking about it, we were like, we want to be the first ones to create a Magic NFT, a Magic Trick NFT. So we had like a bare bones idea of what it could be used for, but we just rushed to make it, and we made it, and it was surprisingly simple to make. And I didn't know what an NFT was, so I was learning what an NFT was in the process of making it. So I was like on the website trying to like mint it, and I was like seeing all these terminology that I had no idea what, and I was like Googling everything as I did it. And so I discovered what an NFT really was and how it worked as I was minting it. And at the end, after we had like, yes, we have the first Magic Trick NFT, then Gray and I sat down and we're like, all right, so what does this mean? What do we do with this? How does this impact? And so we kept brainstorming, and now there's like a list of things, but that's kind of it was just kind of like we're just going with it. It was a wild ride.
Now that's interesting. Like, I feel like I've been the only one. Did you have any questions, Ryan? I feel like I just keep...
No, I feel like an old man because I'll be honest with you two. When my buddy told me about NFTs, he was like, "You got to see what the NBA is selling," and he's like, "You can buy for $20,000 Vince Carter's last 3-point shot," and I was like, "But I could just go on YouTube and watch that." And like, who am I going to resell this to make any profit on this? And so I'll be honest, I said, this is what happens when people are locked in the house for way too freaking long, is we come up with stupid stuff. And Giancarlo, I actually really like now listening to the idea of what yours was. I think it's a fantastic idea for like the rights and stuff. I think but when it was like, okay, here's a piece of digital art, and it's one of one, and I saw, it sells for, $50,000, and I'm like, well, hang on, can't the artist then just go back and make the unicorn's hat orange now instead of blue and resell it again? Because technically they've changed it a little bit. And I'm like, so why the heck is this person buying it for $50,000 when the artist can make a small tweak that is unseeable basically to the human eye, because they only have to change a pen stroke on it and it's something different. And I just don't understand it. So I'm glad that you guys are on tonight, because I'm sure there's a lot of other people that feel old like me that are just like, at the end of it, and I'll be honest, hey, I'm doing this thing, and maybe you two can explain, because I have no idea what it is. I'm on this thing called PyCore team, or just the Pi app, this thing here. And every day I go on because it reminds me that I got a mine, and I click it.
Wait, I'm glad you're doing that.
This app off this chat.
Yeah, because
what did you say, Michael?
Well, let's talk about Pi, but maybe
yeah.
I don't know if I would recommend it.
Michael, I really want to talk about Pi.
Yeah,
later.
No, it's great. I would love to chat, because
why do we have to take this off of the stream? Let's
I
feel like this is
we all talk about it.
This is Magic After Dark. Anything is
anything goes on Magic After Dark. But no, I think that, Ryan, everything that you just encapsulated is probably the feelings of the majority of people viewing this. And I feel like we also jumped into the conversation just saying NFT and throwing that around, assuming that people had context for what that was. But I feel like, Michael, if you could give us more insight into why someone would want to buy either GIFs or videos or images that are already publicly viewable, so they have the rights to them, and could also just give us a brief rundown of NFTs as well, because I feel like we skipped over that.
Sure. Yeah. So this is a Pandora's box question. So
yeah.
I'll start rambling. Please interrupt me.
Ramble away.
There's a lot of answers. So traditionally, when you ask someone like, what is an NFT, they always start with trying to define to you what the word fungible means. I'm not going to do that. I think it's the worst way to describe to someone what an NFT is. I think the easiest way to tell you what an NFT is it is a digital asset or a digital item, okay, like a file on your computer that is rare or limited in nature. Now, already by that definition, everyone in their seat should be uneasy, because every day we copy and paste files, duplicate things thousands of times a day. What the heck is digital scarcity? Like, what does that even mean? How is it a thing, right? So that's like what an NFT is from a definition standpoint. From a little bit more of a technical standpoint, what an NFT is on the blockchain is it's really a certificate of authenticity. Okay, that's really what you're buying. There's a huge misconception, which is that the actual JPEG image, the MP4 video that you're buying, the pixels is embedded in the blockchain. That is not the case at all. Actually, that asset, that file is living off the blockchain. All what's going on the blockchain, on the Ethereum network specifically, is essentially a pointer that says, hey, Blaze, you own this digital asset, okay? Now, this whole idea of storing something off-chain with ownership on-chain. We can get into that, and I think we should, but I'm just kind of let's black box that for now, because that's a whole other discussion in and of itself. But essentially, you are owning some limited asset on the blockchain. Now, how is it possible to be limited? It's because it's cryptographically limited by the blockchain. It's governed by code that someone like me would write, that would write into the code that literally says only one of these can exist, or only 10 of these can exist, and no more. And if anybody ever tries to make more of this specific piece of art, it will fail. The transaction on the network to do such a thing will not work. It will fail. You'll waste a transaction fee that will never go through. Okay, so that's kind of what an NFT is from like a few levels down, technical level. From an even more, let's go technical, because in my opinion, I think people dance around this too much. It's too high level. I think you need to get technical. So basically, an NFT is really something called an ERC 721. Okay, and what an ERC 721 is, it stands for Ethereum Request for Comment 721. Scary name. All it is it's basically a defined set of rules, a standard, kind of like a standard contract of how a limited digital asset should behave, such as what happens when you want to transfer it to somebody? How many additions are there? Where is this asset off-chain living? Like, is it on the web? Is it on a decentralized service? Where is that item, right? It has things such as, the ability to have multiple owners of a single NFT. So not just one person, but so it's basically a standard set of functions that encompass an NFT. Now, who buys these things? It's a really good question.
Here's my answer to that.
Okay, sure.
People that have too much money that don't have anything else to write off. I gotta think that's gotta be most of the people that are like, I have to buy something for my office.
This is a business expense.
That's 100%. That's exactly what I think made this thing blow up. Was really rich guys said, I'll give you 50 grand for a picture because I can write that off as a business expense, and it doesn't take up any more room in this office.
Sure, yeah.
I think that's got to be it.
That's definitely one of them. That's definitely one of them. But before I answer the question, I'm going to actually pose something else, which is, I think it's really an idea that's really hard for people to get over in the NFT space is that ownership is really, really, really valuable. Okay, the idea that you own something is valuable. People make this common example of like the Mona Lisa, right? Like you could print out the Mona Lisa and put it on your wall, but like you don't own the real thing. And if you were to go and try and sell what you just printed out to somebody else, they'd never buy it from you because it's not the legitimate thing. Ownership is really powerful. And when you have what an NFT really is, which is a certificate of authenticity of both ownership and something that actually comes from an artist, that's a powerful statement to say to somebody. And I know that this is going to I'm going to kind of jump a couple steps ahead, but people as humans, we are collectors. Okay. People like to collect things. We collect cards and magic tricks, right? That's our obsession. Other people collect coins. And to some people who maybe can't afford decks of cards or can't play in the coin game, it's easier to collect digital items. Okay. So one area of people who are buying these things are actually people who are collectors. I know this because when I release my NFTs to the community, I kind of have a small community myself now of my collectors, and I talk with them. And there are some of them that they just want to own my art. That's all they care about. They want to own it. They want to look at it. They want to show it to people. They love the fact that it's theirs. And sure, there's definitely a portion of these people who are maybe a little bit more technologically savvy and they have a different perspective on this. But I have friends who they're like, yeah, dude, like, I don't care if you can right click and save it. I own it. Like, do whatever you want. It's mine. I'm the one who can sell it. I'm the one whose value it may or may not appreciate. I'm the one who can put it on my wall. So that's definitely one type of person. You can't forget those people. Then there's also the flippers, which is a huge part of the market, which are people who buy cheap and sell high, right? Buy low, sell high. It's totally a thing. I don't recommend it. This is not financial advice. It's a risky game. Okay. It's not guaranteed profit. There are people who are better at it than others. But you see it. So if you go on, Nifty Gateway or OpenSea, you see things that, might initially sell for like $100, and in the aftermarket they could be going 10x, right? And why would one piece go for 10x than another? Well, let's just say the piece was initially, there's only 10 available. There's only 10 of them in existence. Just like there might be only, 3 Picassos in existence, or I don't know, or 3 Houdini posters. There's only 3 of them, so the more rare, the more value. There's also a third category. And this third category, I think, is a huge part of it, which is exactly what you were touching on, Ryan, which are, we'll call them the whales, okay? Who are people who've been in crypto for a long time, who have made a ton of money from the recent bull market. We are still in the bull market, I believe, okay? And right now, they're like, listen, we want to put our money into assets. We can, like exactly what you said. We want to put it into art. We want to put it into digital real estate, whatever it might be. And here's what's interesting, and this is a story that people don't realize. So Beeple, and sorry if I'm rambling, I'm getting a lot out. If you have a question, just interrupt me. So Beeple, who's probably the most famous NFT artist, he has the record for the highest NFT sale. It's $69 million. He sold it to a guy named Metakovan. Okay, so you're already asking, right? Like, who the heck is Metakovan, and why would he ever spend $69 million on a piece of art, right? Yeah. Most people would say he's an idiot.
Did he just buy like a million Ethereum when it was like cents, and then just has now become rich because of it?
Could have been. I don't know his full crypto story. It could have been a lot of different things, but yeah, that could definitely. Usually, that's the story with a lot of these people, or maybe they had an ICO of their own back in the ICO boom, and they had a coin or whatever it might be. They have crypto wealth. But here's the thing: Metakovan's actually a genius, because I'm going to tell you why. Let me tell you what Metakovan what he did with this piece of art and why it's so brilliant. He said, Beeple is a fantastic artist. Anyone listening, if you haven't seen Beeple, you have to go Google him. You have to watch him. He's amazing. He is a force to be reckoned with. He literally, I had the fortunate, I spent a lot of time with him in Miami. He's the nicest guy. He creates one piece of art every day, no matter what. So every day, a new piece of art online, not to sell necessarily, just for fun. And he sold a piece of art he basically recorded 5,000 days worth of these daily artwork, these daily pieces of art, and put them in a big collage and sold that for $69 million. So if you're a Beeple fan, like I am, I can't afford that. Okay, so I can't pay that. So what Metakovan did, he said, okay, listen, I'm a big NFT collector. I collect Beeple. I collect Blau. I collect all these other NFT artists. I'm going to go and I'm going to create a augmented reality digital museum. So there's a whole part of this world that's in AR, kind of like Ready Player One. Seriously, you go, you put on your AR goggles, and you're literally going into these digital museums. And he created a digital museum of artwork where this piece sits, and he essentially he tokenized it. So now people could own a portion of this whole entire collection. So now if you want a piece of Blau, a piece of Beeple, or whoever, a piece of POC, you can go buy this token, and now you own a share of it all, which I think is awesome, right? I think that's a totally clever use of an NFT. So to sum it up, you have true collectors, you have flippers, and then you have really smart people who are trying to expand it out into this other meaningful idea. Now I'm going to add on one more. This is the last one, and then I'll stop talking. Sorry. There is a new trend of utility, which is people who are buying these things. The art might be cool to them, but they're buying it for another reason. Okay, so for example, if you had bought one of my brother's NFTs, you basically now have lifetime access, backstage passes to every one of his shows in the future. If you're at the show and you can show you own the NFT, you could come backstage no matter what. So all of a sudden, this digital asset is now has this huge utility behind it that lets someone come and actually have real life experiences. So I'll leave it at that. I'll stop now. I'll let someone else talk. Sorry.
Yeah, Michael, I think that last part is really cool. But the other thing that you were saying with the museums and stuff like that, and him giving a chip out, I mean, to me, like, I've got a Dividend 15 split corp stock, and so they buy Amazon, they buy Netflix, they buy all those big things, and then I'm not buying all of those things because I'm not going to spend thousands and thousands of dollars. So I buy this stock that's $10 and continues to go up every year, and I get dividends from that. But someone at the end obviously owns all of those stocks. So essentially, he's just created a stock market or a dividend stock for everybody going into his museum.
So yeah. However, there's a whole aspect of this that it's not that actually he owns it. What ends up happening is he puts it in something called a DAO. And a DAO stands for Decentralized Autonomous Organization. All that means, it's hard to pictualize, but just pretend you get it. It's basically like a company or an organization that lives on the blockchain that's completely governed by code, and there's no CTO, there's no CFO, there's no CTO. Like, it's just code that governs it. And this DAO, this entity, owns all the NFTs. And what happens with those digital assets is then controlled by people who own a share of the DAO. So it's not like a single person has it and he's just kind of like letting everyone have a share of it. It literally is it's fractionalized ownership across people, because that's possible on a blockchain, right? It's what's part of the beauty of the technology is that it lets you do that.
Well, it reminds me a lot of what you were talking about earlier with like the origins of how you found out about this, with what your brother was doing with the show, where all of the people that had bought that crypto, I guess, like token, that was that also the ticket for the event?
Yes.
Was that so? All of the people that attended the event were also part owners of that event. And so, I mean, if you think about it almost in terms of like, if someone were to invest in like Disney stock, like what real world utility does Disney necessarily have other than providing entertainment? Like, if you believe in the entertainment value of Disney and that will have sustainable value, then you might invest in that stock and hope that you make money off of that. And it sounds like this is, if you believe in an artist and you believe in their artwork, you get to have a share or have ownership of that artist's success. And also, there are other perks that you can include with that you get along with it. And it's verifiable that you are the person that owns that because it's been minted in the blockchain. So you can always show, like, I am, the person that has the rights to all of these privileges that you've promised me along with this token that's been agreed in our digital contract. And it's very easy to then have another transaction where you sell that. Another thing that's very interesting about this is the fact that, like, the original artist, don't they make a percentage off of resales down the line? So like, if I buy an NFT from your brother and then I sell it to somebody else, he's also making money off of that resale too?
Yeah. Well, so yes, but I'm gonna kill a huge misconception here.
Okay.
It's so important, which is that people think that this royalty that occurs for secondary market sales is baked into the blockchain. It is not. It is not a part of the ERC 721 standard at all.
It's just something some people have added and decided to.
Correct. So on third-party platforms, so when I sell my NFTs on Nifty Gateway or on OpenSea, essentially that fee comes from like things, a centralized body constructing that to happen, right? So it's not actually happening in the code yet. People are working on that. But as of now, it is not baked into the contract. However, it's a really cool feature, though, that we can do this no matter what, because now artists, like, it's not just a one-time sale for them, right? If you have a talented artist, you benefit from people believing in you into the future, right?
So, and I'm thinking one of the things we considered with the Magic NFTs was, like, say, like Jim Steinmeier creates an illusion, and the performance rights are in the form of an NFT. And the idea is that every time when you sell an illusion, the owner of the illusion has the NFT to prove that he's the rightful owner of it. If he then sells the illusion to someone else, and that person now has performance rights, Jim Steinmeier would still get a royalty, perhaps.
Perhaps, yes. It depends on the platform, of course, but
right, depends on the platform. But that's an aspect.
It has the capability of that.
Of doing that.
Correct. But not in the contract, though. Not by default. It has to be on a third-party platform that can facilitate that fee. By default, it is not inside of an NFT in any shape.
So it's literally just that third-party platform, Nifty Gateway or OpenSea, that handles that royalty being transferred to the original creator. That's entirely separate from the actual blockchain transfer of the token.
Right.
Okay.
Actually, what really ends up happening nowadays is if I create an NFT, okay, and I put it on the blockchain, and someone wants to buy that from me, it's a 2-transaction idea. So they might send me ETH, and then I'll send them the NFT. It's not a one-stop shop where everything goes through one. It's kind of like an over-the-counter sort of situation.
Interesting. Now, so Giancarlo, when you wanted to, now, because the thing is, like, something that I'm still not fully understanding is because I think of like NFTs as like, okay, if I go on OpenSea or I go on Nifty Gateway, I can see what it is, exactly the asset that I'm purchasing, and everybody can see it, even if they don't own it. And then it's only the specific, rights that you have. How is it that you were able to have a separate token that was for the method of an effect and also the physical effect itself,
Yeah. So the platform, and Michael can probably elaborate on how this works, because I don't know. I don't understand how, but I know what it is. Is the platform that we used gives the owner of the token access to exclusive content that only the owner can access. So that is, I think they called it bonus content, which is just like when you mint the NFT, whoever owns that token has a link to something. And in my case, what we did is we have the PDF of the instructions to the trick available on decentralized Drive, and that is linked to the NFT. So whoever owns it gets access to the link, but no one else does. So anyone can see the NFT, but only the owner can see the link that comes with it. But I think, Michael, that's through the platform, right? That happens.
Yeah. So it's a very complicated question, and it's an amazing question, and I would like to dive into it because it's a good one. And the fact of the matter is, nothing's secret on the blockchain. Okay.
Yeah.
And just to give you some inside look, there are teams out there who are working on creating privacy on the blockchain. And the reason why that's important is because when you have more institutions coming into the space, I mean, let's be real. I mean, Goldman Sachs probably doesn't want you seeing that they're buying Ethereum, right? So people building secrecy into the blockchain is a huge part of it. If you're interested, anyone in the audience who's like more technically savvy, looking up things such as zero knowledge proofs, or ZK rollups, they call them, is essentially or ZK snarks is the technology that allows to do this. Now, in terms of, an unlockable NFT, from a tech perspective, there's a lot of ways to do it. I'm not 100% sure exactly. I know Giancarlo, you use Rarible. I don't know what their mechanism is, but from a Magic perspective, it certainly is possible to say, okay, let's say I sell you an NFT. I'm not going to put my secret on a decentralized drive on the internet at all. Because the fact is, even though the NFT might not point to it yet, and it will when you unlock it, it's still there and you can see it. There's an NFT called MeBits, okay? Huge NFT, also created by a company called Larva Labs, where essentially every time you mint an NFT, it generates NFTs at random, and some of them are rarer than others. And a guy found the secret cheat codes that you shouldn't be able to find on a decentralized drive, and was able to then manipulate the smart contract to mint an ultra rare NFT, and then turned around and sold it for 400 ETH, right? So a file that should never have been anywhere was there, and someone found it. So there's no such thing as secrecy. That being said, though, of course, there are things that you can do, which is you could just not put it on the drive, but then, of course, it's no longer decentralized. You could encrypt it and give the person who owns it the encryption key, which is, certainly a possibility. But it's a challenging thing. It's especially for the Magic world. The idea that everything's in the open is a whole new paradigm, right?
Yes.
And that's why, when I was talking to Giancarlo about this too, is when you're talking about ownership of a Magic effect, sometimes it's not really so important what the method is, right? Because at the end of the day, if I go on stage and I do a Rubik's Cube trick, and Ryan goes on stage and does a Rubik's Cube trick, and the tricks might be identical, but our methods might be completely different, it doesn't matter because the audience is going to see and experience the same thing, right? Mm-hmm. To the audience perspective, I performed the same trick as he did, right? It doesn't matter the method. So in terms of Magic intellectual property, I actually think it's more important the effect than actually the method. Just because I don't think the method is really necessarily relevant. I think if you want to do some off-chain agreement to exchange the method to a buyer of a magic trick, that's fine. But on chain, it's risky. It's a risk. It's a risky thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll say just as a caveat that like when we created this first NFT, it was a proof of concept type thing. It was an experiment, and that's something that Michael, I want to keep talking to you about like experimenting on and improving this idea, because it's
a phenomenal idea.
It's definitely a it was a really fun idea, but again, it's not perfect, and it's something that we were kind of like we wanted to see if it would work, but it's definitely not the perfect way to do it. That's why I put a secret that I put an effect I created on there. The first NFT was one of my effects, because I didn't obviously have the rights to put anyone else's stuff on there, but also like it's a secret that I was comfortable experimenting with.
Yeah.
So
Here's two things. First, I like Michael a little bit back. You said, just pretend you know what I'm saying. I was like, I've been doing that for the last.
I'm sorry.
I'm teasing. I'm just messing with you. I find it really interesting because I've had lots of talks with people about this stuff as well, just trying to figure out everything. And I've told people, like, I put a bunch of money into the stock market in the last year or two, and I said, and everybody's like, you got to go cryptocurrency, but there's like this 4-year bubble, and then it restart, and and I'm like, okay, when do you come in? When do you not? Like, when is the bubble? Blah, 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 all this stuff. But one thing that I heard you guys say, you and Blaze were talking about this concert, and you had to have a coin or buy the NFT to get into it, and then you owned part of the concert, right? Here's the thing it sounds really stupid to me. Like, it sounds brilliant if you owned a concert that then other people could buy tickets to that don't have to buy an NFT, because then you make money. But if 1,000 people buy an NFT and now think they have ownership of a concert, well, they're not making diddly squat other than what they spent on the NFT, because that's all the money split evenly. They probably made less by the time they pay the artists out, or however that works. You've actually made less buying that NFT to go to the concert. And I understand. I think it's cool that there's a physical attribute to it, because that's, for me, being old school, I guess, I'm more into buying real estate. Like, I'm looking at buying some properties now to but I still, I think it's important to have your money in a bunch of different places. So that's why I was really fascinated with cryptocurrency, and I've got some friends that are really into it and stuff. But no one can really explain it really well to me and go, here's what you do. And so I've gone into stock market, and I've gone into, real estate, because for those things seem to me more tangible. And I like that, like what you're saying is cryptocurrency now has this tangibility, like your brother's backstage passes. I think that's super cool. I would love to get one of those to be able to go backstage and hang out with you guys. But hopefully I just have to call you and be able to do that.
Well, I'll give you the pitch of why you should buy cryptocurrencies. I have a really good pitch, so I'll convince you. But we can do that.
But in saying that, am I right with the concert thing to say, like, if 10,000, if it said there's 10,000 available for people to go to this concert, and 10,000 people buy this thinking that they're going to have ownership, and sure, they get to decide who. I mean, obviously they take a poll or something to decide what artists are coming to play and stuff. But you are now going to make that NFT is now worth less, because, each person has to have one to be there.
So there's right. So let me clarify. Sorry. So the NFT and the ticket are two different things. Okay. So the NFT was just like, hey, you can collect this at the concert. The ticket, if in this organization, by the way, I want to preface this with this NFT concept that I'm about to explain is no longer a project. And the reason why is because it violates securities law. Okay. So the SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission, this is a violation against that, which is why this is no longer a thing. But the idea was you had a token. So instead of it being a NFT, it was a share. Okay. And just like in the stock market, there are issuances of shares, there are buybacks of shares. In the crypto world, we call it minting of shares, burning shares, buyback versus issuing. And essentially, when you buy this token, you have a right to go to the concert. But not only that, you also have a right, which of course the token itself could appreciate in value and change over the years as more people buy tickets. But not only that, you also have a right, just like you would in a stock. When you buy a stock, you essentially are buying a right to the cash flows of that company. In the same way, you are buying the right to the cash flows of this music festival. And those cash flows come in a lot of different ways from any transaction that occurs in a festival. A festival is not necessarily just buying a ticket to music, right? There's food, there's merchandise, there's streaming sales after the fact, right? So you are essentially buying a share of this ecosystem, and you have a piece of that whole ecosystem, which will then grow in value over time. So it's not like it's just like, oh, here are only 100 tickets, and then after this concert, that's it. It's actually, they have a right to these concerts in perpetuity into the future.
Yeah, so for that, I mean, obviously the concert's done and people can stream it online and you get stuff from that. But in saying like they have, they're collecting funds from everything. So let's say there is a food vendor, right? Does that food vendor now have to go, okay, if I sell this hot dog, I now have to pay out 1,000 people or however many people have tickets, a portion of this hot dog sale.
Well, luckily it's on the blockchain, so code the jurisdiction is by code rather than this person literally going like, how do I divide this hot dog into 400 pieces?
No, but that's what I'm saying is like, okay, well, I need to now charge $9,000 for a hot dog because the blockchain is then going to split all my money out.
But you can also use these tokens, for example, to buy that hot dog. You don't have to necessarily buy the hot dog with $100, and then later on it's converted into cryptocurrency and distributed to shareholders. Yeah. Actually, you could use the concert token itself to exchange within the concert. And when you do that, when people are exchanging the currency of the concert itself within this concert ecosystem, you create the movement of money, the transaction of money, which is that's what creates the value, right?
I feel like I'm a pretty young guy still, but I feel real old.
I think this is actually the concert is it's actually a really bad place to start when trying to describe this stuff. I think it's a lot easier for someone to understand like what the heck is Ethereum and why is that useful, and then from there it's sort of easier to extend to all these other ideas of token economics, for example. And I'm also down to have like a whole podcast just on that topic too, because that's a whole other rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Well, I think I think right now it's good if we keep it within the NFT realm, especially because we have Giancarlo here as well, and we can talk about, I think, specifically how magic it can work and function within this ecosystem, and how magicians can take advantage of this as well. Because I know what you were talking about, Giancarlo, earlier was like one of the main motivations for you wanting to do this. You mentioned the idea of like magic being seen more as an art form, because I know that many times, like, people like Copperfield have tried to have Congress recognize magic as an art form, legally, so that we would be able to, for example, like patent methods and things like that. And it's currently in this weird kind of limbo where we're not exactly recognized as an art form. And I guess that gets back to the earlier conversation of art in magic versus the art of magic. But I'm interested in the value and how it can impact these. Yeah, Ryan.
Sorry, here's a follow-up to that, because I've had that conversation because in Canada, obviously things are a little bit different than over in the States. And with, with trying to make magic seen as an art in the States, I actually think is an incredibly dangerous thing for all of us, because all David Copperfield has to do is go, I've done everything. And I have records of everything, and I own all of this. And then none of us can perform jack all without paying him, who already, and I love David Copperfield, don't get me wrong, but it could come down to that, where it's like, hey, I performed a double lift and someone owned that before, or someone bought the rights to that or something like that. And so now, or, David Copperfield says, I own Floating Rose, even though, Kevin James made it, he bought it from Kevin James. And so now I own it, and Kevin still sells it, but I own the rights to it. So no one else in the world can perform Floating Rose. And if you do, I'm going to sue you. So I think it's a super dangerous thing. to say something like that.
But that I feel like is the perfect instance where NFTs can come in if we're talking about performance rights and having documented exchange of performance rights, where it's like, I've minted this, I've sold the performance rights specifically to this person. That is the transaction. And I'm not going to just go, I've done it all, so I'm going to claim this, you know? So it's almost like beneficial in Magic being seen in a better light, but not necessarily, but also kind of outside of that legal system, which could get very dangerous.
I want to say that I think also the main purpose behind the movement of making Magic be recognized as an art form is more along the lines of for magicians to be able to get funding from arts organizations and government programs that support the arts. And I think that's the main push behind it. But yeah, Ryan, I'd never considered that. That's a really, really
well. I mean, we saw it with Teller, right? Someone figured out how Teller did his Rose Act, and they copied it. And who knows if the method was exactly the same, but they copied his performance. And obviously in Magic, there's no, you don't own copyright on anything like that or patents on anything. So you can't patent that trick. Teller was obviously able to go back and say, he copied my performance and I have a patent on the performance of it. So I understand that, like the copying of that and stuff. But I just think, like, could someone like David, who, in our lifetime has done everything on TV, or Blame, something like that, where, he's bought rights to, let's say, Inject for a year. Then does he just now own those rights forever and says, like, hey, if you now want to perform this, And so I thought it was really interesting with, like, what you were saying with the NFT, to be able to look at those rights and who did that. But to then go back, like, it would be great for new material being created now going forward. But how do you go back and go, this was owned by this person because 1,000 people, and that was my problem with NFTs to begin with, is if I PVR the last shot Vince Carter takes, I own it on my TV. I have it for as long as I have that TV. I can take it off my PVR, most likely, some way, shape, or form, onto a USB. And now this is being sold for $20,000. Well, I have it on video right here.
But if you were to try and distribute that piece of video yourself,
100%,
then the NBA could come after you. Whereas
100%.
because you aren't a co-owner of it.
No,
but
100%.
if you were a co-owner of it, then things would be a little bit different.
It's the same as if I watch the UFC fights on the weekend and I don't buy them and I stream them online because someone else is streaming. The nice thing is in Canada, that's not illegal because as long as you're not downloading the content, it's not illegal. But you can stream things and it's fine. But in saying that, that person is doing something illegal. I'm not, but I'm still watching it. So that's the thing I don't understand, I guess, is all the back and like the in between things and how you stop that from happening. And Michael, you kind of said it was that person found a loophole or found that code to then create an ultra rare coin that they could get, right, and then resell it. So I feel like, this is a hacker's universe where everything can find a loophole, right?
So
now, right before Michael answers that,
yeah,
there was one thing that popped up in the chat was Thomas saying, wouldn't performing it be the same as copying and pasting a JPEG of the NFT? And I just wanted to say that, am I understanding it correctly? Because I think Michael addressed that earlier, that the NFT itself is not that JPEG. It is not the thing that you see on the site that you're purchasing. It is just a contract, a virtual digital contract of exchanging ownership. And so if you perform it, but you don't actually own the NFT, then you don't own the rights to that thing. But it does get dicey because it's like, how do you necessarily know what someone's performing?
Well, and that's with Magic. It's like, how do you, we're always crediting people back, as far as we can go, right? So then do you have to then pay those people back credit if you've created a new effect? We always say that there's nothing really new in Magic, right? It's always taken from something in the past. So then are you then paying back all of those other people? I don't know.
Yeah. So I'll address this in two parts. So first, about the copying and pasting the JPEG. So what it's important to know is when I create an NFT or when Giancarlo creates an NFT or anyone does, that NFT, the creation of it, especially if I do it myself, which is a whole other topic of discussion when you're using third-party platforms, okay? But if I go myself right now on my computer and I mint my NFT from scratch, from zero, it is digitally signed by me. I am the artist. It is digitally signed by me. So if somebody were to go and literally download the JPEG and also make an NFT with that same JPEG, that's fine, but it's not mine, right? It's as if someone just made a fraudulent piece of artwork, right? So now you have this whole other world, which I'm totally happy to dive into, which is just like in the real world, there's fraudulent art. This is going to happen the same thing in the digital world, right? In fact, it might even be easier in the digital world, right, to create fraudulent art. And I think that, you know, the idea of performance rights is, you're right, it is dicey because there is no way to know if someone performs a trick and like if they did it, right? So I think actually a better way to approach this is to actually take a couple steps back to the core idea. And let's start from the Giancarlo's core idea and kind of move forward into a structure that might solve a different problem for magicians, okay, that relates to the IP stuff. So let's say Giancarlo creates an NFT right now. Okay, so he has this image, it's his PDF online. It's a certificate of authenticity that I own this illusion. Okay. Now, is it a performance rights for me to perform the illusion? Not necessarily. More interestingly, though, what it is it says Giancarlo created this. It's a credit, right? Yep. This is a cryptographic credit that it is his and not Joe Schmo's.
That's the first and most important thing, I think, with magic NFTs.
And that in my opinion is the most important. But now here's the dicey question. Okay, what if I, evil malicious hacker, decide, you know, okay, I, like in the normal magic world, like people go on Penguin Magic, they download a trick, they tweak the method a little bit, they change the pattern, and they go and resell it on Penguin Magic, and then the whole magic community gets in an uproar on Magic Cafe that you stole my trick. Right? This is a big problem. I think we all know it's a problem, right? We all see it happen every day. So how do we use blockchain to solve this? So let's go back to Giancarlo's example. Just like as if Giancarlo actually put this magic NFT on Penguin Magic, I can do the same. I could take his magic NFT, I could see the document, I'll retype it, I'll make a couple word changes, and I'll say it's mine, and then I'll put it on the blockchain, I'll say, hey, I created it too. Now, this isn't fraud proof, because there's a couple things that Giancarlo has in favor that is against me. One is that he was the first, okay? And on the blockchain, it's literally a timeline. So he actually did create this on the blockchain before I did. The second thing is that his piece of artwork, his NFT, is digitally signed by him and not digitally signed by me. And the third aspect of it is the fact, which is also really important, is this NFT, getting a little technical for a second, is located at an Ethereum address. An Ethereum address is a really ugly bunch of 40 characters of 0x954ABC that is unique on the blockchain. And if you go to that address, that's where Giancarlo's NFT is located. If I create one, it's not going to be located there, okay? So it's not fraud proof. But at the end of the day, if I change it enough, okay, I basically just like ripped him off. That's totally a thing. That is totally a possibility in blockchain. Right. So for magicians, this is a problem because on its own, actually, NFTs really can't solve this problem because it's literally just a digital version of what already happens, right? Which is we just steal each other's stuff. But how do you solve it? Good question. So here's how. Remember I talked before about something called a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization? It's an organization run by code. And forget about monetary incentives for a second, okay? There's no cash flows, nothing. It's a set of smart contracts on the blockchain. And by the way, a smart contract is just like a piece of code on the blockchain. That's like an NFT is a smart contract. It's just a piece of code. And this decentralized organization or DAO is called Magic DAO. And now we give one token, magic token, okay, to every magician in the world. Let's just say that was possible. And now, rather than anybody, whoever, can just go make an NFT, the magic community agrees as a consensus. Okay, just like we agree that Dan and Dave makes a great deck of cards, we're going to agree that Magic DAO on the blockchain, this decentralized element, this entity is the sole auditor and the sole monitor of all Magic IP on the blockchain. The reason why that's important is because now you have this extra layer of protection. If someone comes around the corner and mints his own NFT for fun and duplicates something, if it doesn't come from Magic DAO, it's not legitimate, right? It's totally fraudulent.
So that's the first question, Michael, real quick. You said that this is run by code. This isn't run by people. So what is, because I was having a conversation with a friend about this exact idea, and he said, well, you know, you need a panel of judges or someone to decide, like,
so
who created this first? Like, what if I publish it and then someone else comes, like, actually that was my idea, I was first, right? And ideally,
so we would just have a panel of like appointed people to represent the Magic community.
Well, better yet,
Blaze, I think you're frozen again.
Yeah, Blaze is frozen again.
Jinky, Scoob.
Yeah.
So I didn't get to the coolest part. I didn't get to the coolest part about a DAO. A DAO is a decentralized organization run by code with no CFO, no CEO. However, every single decision it makes is a vote based on people who hold Magic token. I'm basically just creating this as an example, okay? Every user, it's decentralized. It's a vote, okay? So now this has really interesting applications for Magic. So now all of a sudden we have a dispute, right? We have a dispute in the blockchain. We say, okay, I created this and I did it. Now, magicians, we want credit, right? A lot of magicians want credit. And, you know, to be honest with you, I think there's some aspect of credit that's like, yeah, you know, put my name in the book as giving me credit. I think a stronger definition of credit is to say that the majority of magicians agree in consensus that you are the creator. Because if there is a dispute, it doesn't matter if you put it in the book. Like, yeah, maybe you learned it from them, but guess what? The guy to the right of me who also made a book, maybe I learned that idea from someone else, right? So credit could be a consensus of a majority agreement, or we'll call it a 51% agreement in the Magic community that this specific version, this specific creator is the winner. Okay, he's the winner. So now all of a sudden you have this mechanism on the blockchain where every magician owns a token. And if you have a dispute, you literally put it up to vote for the community. No more Magic Cafe discussions, no more disputes, you vote. And guess what? If more than 51% of the community agrees that one version is better, then guess what? Then that's the version that's better.
Doesn't like turn into a giant Magic, like that's exactly, I read Bryce's thing. It basically becomes a massive Magic Cafe then, where if like,
which is what democracy is.
I'm gonna say this guy. I'm gonna say like Chris Angel, because love him or hate him in the Magic community. I know he goes both ways, right? It's like, you know, he may not be as popular as David Blaine. So Blaine says, I created that. And Angel says, no, look, I have it on the TV show 10 years ago. And Blaine goes, yeah, well, I did it for, you know, Michael Weber 15 years ago. Or, you know, me and Paul Harris thought of that when we were on shrooms in the woods. And then it's a vote. Who do you agree?
Okay.
Like, who do you agree with? Does that not become dangerous? Where, like Bryce said, then it's just a popularity contest.
Well, let's look at the alternative. Let's look at what it is right now.
Right
now, it's a mess. There's no answer.
Hey, no, 100%.
Right? And I think you're right. However, it might. By the way, when I say vote, it wouldn't be as simple as like, who do you agree? There would be requirements such as, okay, these magicians must submit all records of history that they have, whatever it might be. Literally, provide the jury with your evidence. Turn it into a democracy and have people vote on it. And then, therefore, the owner is now the creator. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, anything that's not that, okay, is either going to be another version of fraud for magic tricks, which is people just creating NFTs all over the place, completely not in this convergence on this specific DAO. So it's just literally a duplication of what we have already. Or it's kind of like what you said originally, which is if for some reason tomorrow all magic could be patented and it was allowed, like let's just say that was possible, you could patent a magic trick, then you're 100% correct. Copperfield could go out and literally be like, well, I own everything, you all suck.
Well, he's the only one that probably could afford to patent everything anyways, right? Like the rest of us would be screwed trying to patent everything that we do, and he could literally just buy everything up.
Right.
and no one would be able to perform.
Going back to the question of the problem being solved, I don't think the problem is solved by this, but like Michael was saying, I think it's better than what we have now, in that what we need is this consent. Like, there's no place right now where you can go and look up any trick and see who created it. There's no one. I mean, there are databases out there, but there's no one centralized, like, this is the official, like, this is the rule book. So yes, there's flaws, and yeah, it's not perfect, but I think it's infinitely better than the chaos that we have now, like Michael said.
Now, I'd like to clarify that, like, are we talking about people just minting things within this DAO in order to claim credit, or are we talking about people minting things within this DAO in order to exchange the rights for someone else to perform this on television, say?
Yeah,
you know, because like if we're talking about TV rights or something, that's where I'm like, okay, there is a specific utility to this, but like, what do I like? I don't understand necessarily someone minting something on the blockchain, which would require transaction. Like, isn't the whole point of this that I'm essentially making a token that then someone else would purchase that has any certain semblance of monetary value? Like, there is no monetary value to me claiming and saying this trick's mine. There is monetary value to me exchanging that method with somebody else and saying, you now have the right to do this. You know, that, like, I feel like it's not, like, I don't think it necessarily solves the problem of someone claiming an effect, you know, because people are going to do that for ages, you know, like, they're going to always do that. But if someone's going like, this is my effect, and I want to ensure that I can sell the TV rights only to the people that I choose, that's where it's important. I don't think that the people that are just coming up with tricks and then not publishing them necessarily would be the demographic for this, right? Like, they wouldn't really care. You know, it's not like I'm going to just mint something and then go through all of this work trying, oh, I froze again. All right.
No, but you're right.
Yeah.
But these are two different things. They're two completely different but they're two problems that we're trying to solve out here. One of them is, how do magicians claim ownership without revealing their secrets? And the other one is, how do magicians track performance rights? And NFTs, I think, solve both of them, but I think it's just two completely different things we're talking about at that point.
Well, right. I mean, the example I was giving was purely for ownership ability, right? Because that's NFTs at the end of the day, as of now, are just like the ability to own something. So now you're owning a trick. The addition of performance rights is the direct extension of it, and you can extend to that. Of course, though, you know, you then run into this problem, which is like Ryan was saying, is like, how do you know if someone didn't do it? And if someone doesn't listen to these performance rights and does it anyways. But here's the thing, and
when you're saying it's about ownership, like, would people mint an NFT and then have no intention of ever selling it just to claim ownership of that thing that they've minted?
Okay. So right now, the unfortunate part is that NFTs have attracted a lot of attention because of the price. But if we assume no transaction fees for a second, and we assume that we're going to use the blockchain just to create this incredibly secure way to verify ownership of something with no monetary element to it at all, okay, that's what we're talking about here, right? It's
okay, all right, yeah.
We're using it as a functional append-only database rather than the ability to sell. Now, when you want to add performance rights, then you can include, we can talk about this additional monetary incentive where people can sell these performance rights. Now, here's the thing, and this is the unfortunate part about this discussion, is if you ask me, I think this is the future. I think the problem is right now, it's too early. If you were to create this right now, you're going to run into problems where people are performing it off. They're just not going to listen, right? But I mean, if you picture a day where the whole world is governed by a blockchain, it's kind of dystopian, but if that does happen, right, that's a situation where this might be more enforceable. But I think it's interesting to try. You know, I think it's a cool experiment to see, at least going forward, not historical, not like Ryan, you're right, not going back trying to solve the issues of the past. Going forward, people who are creators trying to create things and create this ownership of a trick. This is all about ownership. And then, of course, if you want to extend performance rights to people. And also, while I'm here, I'll answer a question as well for anyone who's voting. Of course, there's qualified voters, right? It's not just like, oh, you get a vote, you could vote, right? There could be, remember, it's all governed by code. We could come up with any sort of rules that we want to qualify a voter. Because you're right, maybe it shouldn't be a popularity contest and it should be delegated to specific people in the most decentralized manner possible. Now, here's a really interesting application of this. And actually, before I bring this up, I'll just say if anyone else wants to talk, because it will kind of change tracks a little bit. So I don't want to do that in case someone else had a thought.
Well, let me say this, Blaze. Do you think it's that time?
I think it's that time. I know that Michael's got a thought on his brain.
Michael's going to go, I know.
But Michael, are you cool holding on to that thought?
Yes.
Because
we know that it's...
I think I think first we got to... Yeah. I think first we got to do the one that we have no control of, right? Do you think that or...
Yeah, we could do that. I mean... Yeah,
I'm getting scared. What's
happening?
Leave now.
These guys definitely are not ready for any of it because I don't think they're definitely just there. That's all I can say is they're not ready for it.
They're not ready for it. I'm not ready for it. And then we'll get straight into the next segment. But yeah, I think that, we've been talking very serious and very logical and very rational. And I think that we need to get into the most serious, logical, and rational question of the night, which is...
Lasagna!
Lasagna!
What's your favorite genre of lasagna?
Meat.
Lasagna.
Veggie.
Lasagna.
Plain.
Lasagna.
Saucy.
Lasagna. What's your favorite genre of lasagna?
Oh man, what a good song!
It's the best.
What just happened?
This is the best.
I'm really scared.
Is this a segment on the podcast?
That is an NFT. That is our first NFT.
That is our first NFT.
Me and Blaze are the co-owners of it. We give
no intention to sell.
We give credit to Lost Art as well. It's all hard. Yeah, we got to pay a lot of people for that one. So the question is,
what's your favorite genre of lasagna? Giancarlo, what is your favorite genre of lasagna? If you were to think about your lasagna genres.
Lasagna genre.
That is the thing is I, up until this moment, never considered that there are genres of lasagnas. I always thought of lasagna as a constant. It's just
so I
am coming in here unprepared. But I would say that a lasagna that is heavy in pasta, has tomato sauce involved, not too much cheese, but just enough, and ground beef. Maybe. Do I want to say mushrooms? Maybe not.
Tough decision. If you were to encapsulate,
I haven't tried it.
You've listed a recipe. You've listed a recipe, but if a symphony were playing outside of your window, you wouldn't describe the genre as a bunch of violins. How would you describe this if you were to encapsulate the genre?
I would say.
Actually, I like Thomas's comment as well.
Give me an example of a genre of lasagna.
Well, it's a lasagna genre.
It's just a lasagna, lasagna genre. I mean, it's just
one or the other.
I'm gonna say pasta heavy lasagna.
Pasta heavy.
Pasta
heavy. I like that. Pasta heavy. That's like grunge metal. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Yeah, Michael.
I'm going to pretend that I'm not dairy-free and answer this question.
Oh, no, we're dairy-free as well. We're dairy-free. Be honest,
okay, man. Fair.
Yeah. I mean, is that the genre? Dairy-free?
Okay, sure. That's my genre. Dairy-free lasagna.
That could be
dairy-free. Dairy-free.
Now, do you have fake? Do you have fake like cheese?
Maybe it's like instead of cheese, it's like cauliflower, which like sort of has the texture of cheese, but isn't cheese.
Cauliflower lasagna and heavy pasta.
There we go. We'll go for it. Cauliflower
and heavy pasta.
And the follow-up question to that is,
now, you guys, Michael, you do some coding and stuff. That's pretty. Would you say it's like pretty scientific, pretty technical, mathematical? A bit.
Sure. Yeah.
So, if you were to bake a cauliflower lasagna, and you were to, if you were to bake a cauliflower lasagna, if you were to bake a second lasagna, and stack the second atop the first. How many lasagnas do you have now?
One.
How many lasagna do you have? One. Giancarlo.
Interesting. What about you?
How many lasagna do you have now? You got 2 heavy pasta lasagnas. Stack one atop the other.
I would say now you have a composite lasagna, but it's still one.
Wow. Composite lasagna, man.
Double ones tonight. This is interesting.
You got 1 extra heavy lasagna. Yeah. I like your style. I like it. He's grooving.
We've had a lot of 2s lately, so
we have gotten a lot of 2s lately. Yeah,
it's the cryptocurrency guys that say 1.
Yeah, they say it's all one. It's one decentralized blockchain we got here. One blockchain
right on the same part of the blockchain. Is the code the same? I guess.
Now I think we could follow up. It goes straight into it. Segment into segment.
Just hit them with it.
Oh, we have the best segments, guys. Oh, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time. It's time for 20 questions. It's time for 20 questions. Yeah, it's time for 20 questions. It's time for 20 questions. Yeah, put 2 minutes on the clock. 2 minutes on the clock. Put 2 minutes on the clock. 2 minutes on the clock. Here we go.
Alrighty. You guys were here for the debut of the 20 questions song. Ryan slaved over it all afternoon.
I create every piece of music heard on Magic After Dark.
It's amazing. It's really
to be on the blockchain. You'll be able to buy it.
We've got so many NFTs, guys.
Yeah.
All right.
All the graphics in there.
Now, I didn't talk to X about setting up the timer differently. So
no worries.
we're gonna do.
Well, we got 4 minutes tonight, anyways.
Yeah, we got 4 minutes. So, boys, we have 4 minutes on the clock. We're gonna ask both of you 20 questions back to back. All right.
So we'll ask one question. You both answer.
Okay.
All right. So Giancarlo, since you came on first, we're going to ask you the question first. Then Michael, you have a chance to answer right after, and we'll go back to back in that same order. Giancarlo, then Michael, and we'll see how many questions you can get through. We'll see if you can break the record for getting through all the questions.
And this is the first time we ever do this?
Wait, is this trivia? Like, is there a right answer? Or you're just asking us questions?
No.
Okay.
No.
We gotta beat the record.
We're not at the point in the show where there are wrong answers. You're not ready for that part yet.
You have not, been voted on to get to that level yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. We have our democratic vote coming.
But Blaze, why don't you start with the first question this week, so that I get to ask different questions this week.
Spicy.
Yeah, change it up.
Spicy lasagna.
Usually, I ask the first question.
Yes. And let's get straight into it. All right. And your time starts now. Favorite color?
Green.
Black.
Biggest pet peeve?
When people are bringing groceries in from the car.
When people walk slowly on that escalator thing, that floor escalator thing in the airport.
Where'd you grow up?
McAllen, Texas.
Long Island, New York.
What always makes you laugh?
John Mulaney.
My brother.
What's a secret talent?
I can say the alphabet backwards.
I ski.
First time you ever saw a magic trick?
I was third grade.
My dad putting a sword through my sister's neck.
If you could have a superpower, what would it be?
Mind reading.
Fly.
Dream performance venue.
Resort in Las Vegas.
Red Rock Amphitheater in the desert.
Most cherished memory.
Hanging out with my brother, growing up.
Oh man, I think sneaking out with my friends in the middle of the night at summer camp where we weren't allowed to sneak out, going to the kitchen, stealing food, putting it in pillowcases, going back to our bunk, and hiding it from our counselors.
Nice.
Favorite food?
Jello.
Cheese.
Favorite movie? Jeez, not it. What?
Doesn't mean I can't like it.
Favorite movie?
Harry Potter.
The Prestige.
Favorite pizza topping?
Mushrooms.
Pepperoni.
Favorite magician?
David Copperfield.
Aussie Wind.
If you won the lottery, what's the first thing you'd buy?
A private jet.
I put it in Bitcoin.
What's your most highly recommended magic product or book?
Maximum Entertainment.
Mnemonica by Juan Tamariz.
Favorite TV show?
White Collar.
Breaking Bad.
Guilty pleasure?
Diet Coke.
Cheese.
If you had one wish, what would you wish for?
More wishes.
My family to be of good health for the rest of their life.
See, shit.
Oh,
All right.
Wow.
Favorite toy growing up?
I'm gonna say the Bop It thing.
oh wow.
Ooh.
Little tech deck skateboards.
Nice. Here's our favorite question of the 20 questions, because you guys have made it through. Favorite sports team?
The Chudley Cannons Quidditch World Cup.
Las Vegas Golden Knights, baby. Let's go.
Quidditch World Cup. You've made it through. And would you rather look like a potato or feel like a potato?
Feel like a potato.
Feel like a potato.
All right.
Well,
we made
it's
it
a good
through.
thing, 'cause you both look like potatoes. So, Michael, what did you say your favorite sports team was?
Las Vegas Golden Knights.
Oh,
Hockey.
nice. I'm a big Leaf fan. I'm super disappointed. I took my flag down from my backyard, but I posted on Facebook that Vegas has always been my second home. I lived there for a while, and so
Yeah.
I would be changing and rooting for the Vegas Knights. I feel like I lived there when the team started. I wanted to buy season tickets, but they sold out before I could get any. I tried, so I was like, I feel like they're my team, my home away from home team. So
Yeah, listen, if you've never been to a Golden Knights game, like in Vegas,
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
Vegas. It's like a
Yeah.
Vegas show, okay?
Yeah. They're the only ones that have celebrities actually sing the national anthem. Them in Nashville. It's like those are the only teams that can bring someone in that's cool to sing the national anthem or do any of that stuff. So, but
So now we know more about you. That's great.
right.
We knew that your favorite thing, your guilty pleasure, and your biggest fear are all cheese.
I like.
I love
Giancarlo,
cheese.
My eyebrows went up when your pet peeve was bringing groceries in from the car. I don't understand that pet peeve.
So it's like it's when people ask me to help bring groceries in, like, because I know I feel like I should, but it's just there's something about bringing in groceries that I just don't like.
It's like you're like
that's your
bringing groceries
biggest
in from
pet
the
peeve.
car. I was like, that is not a pet peeve. But
No,
now
it's not. It's really not. But it's the first thing that I'm like, if there's one irrational thing that I just would wish people would stop doing is asking me to help them with groceries.
All right.
I don't know that many people that ask me to help them bring in groceries.
It doesn't happen often, but when it happens, it happens.
When it happens, you're like, I want to kill this guy.
That's it. No more.
Yeah, just like, I can't take it. Mine is when people say Chipotle. I cannot stand when people
What
say
about-
Chipotle.
What about Chipotle?
I mean Chipotle's fine because that's funny. Like that's just so silly. But Chipotle is just, oh man,
Insects. When I was like 17,
grinds my gears.
I worked at Subway for a little while when I was like 17. And the number of people that can't say Parmesan and oregano, that is mind-blowing. How many adults come in and go, can I get the Parmigiano and oregano? Or I'm like, these are common words, folks. Parmesan cheese. And
I didn't
oregano.
make them up.
They didn't. This is not new. This is not a Subway word. this is a word that the whole world knows. And you get people that couldn't say Parmesan and oregano. I was like, wow. Absolutely wow.
Oh, Thomas, I am absolutely that. I think of it as like a test to my manhood if I cannot grab all of the grocery bags at one time.
Oh,
I just
that's me. When me and Anya come back from, I mostly.
I got 2 bags hanging per fingy.
Oh yeah. Oh, 100%.
It's
these
either
rubber fingers, anyways. So it's like just like mandible claws everywhere. Like, but
you either do it and you feel incredible, or you fail and you feel like you're worth nothing. There's no in between. Once you come back from the grocery store, it's a test of your character. Either way.
I can see why you've grown.
There's no such thing as failure.
If you ain't first,
fail.
you're last.
You cannot fail. Grab the bags. Take them all.
do it.
Giancarlo, you never do the thing where you grab as many bags as you can, you drop one, and so then you scoop with the other bags, that you have just this hammock of bags suspending other bags, anti-gravity style.
You gotta wear a belt, so then you could undo your belt, slide a bag
bags through your
tie
belt.
the bag super tight or your belt super tight, click it in, so then you're good to go, right?
I'll say I always underestimate the strength of my fingers whenever I do it, because I'll have like 10 bags and I'll like there's one more like I don't know if I can carry another bag, and somehow I managed to pick up another bag, and I'm like, somehow the sum of these bags weigh less together than they would individually, because I don't think I could carry all of these together.
My favorite thing is proving how massive I am by then closing the hatchback carrying
the bags. Oh, yeah.
Using my head to pull it down to my elbow.
Of course.
And then close it. But that shows not only my fiance, but all the neighbors on the road.
You're absolutely massive. The mayor of the neighborhood.
I am the mayor of the street. The mayor of Inglewood.
You gotta close that. You also have to open the door, lock the car, close the door. Those are all things you have to do with the bags in your hands.
I like hatchback can be closed with your eyebrow.
With your elbow. You said eyebrow?
Oh, I think you said eyebrow.
You just go, eh. He's like, elbow. That's so funny.
Massive.
Grab another bag with your eyebrow.
Yes, that is.
You got
true.
strong eyebrows, Ryan.
I do have incredibly strong eyebrows. So
NFTs. We needed to come up for air.
Michael, I literally text Blaze and said, I'm not sure if my mind is melting. There's so much information.
Sorry, I'm like dumping. I apologize.
No. I love it because I'm learning things, maybe at a slower rate than most people, but I am learning a little bit about this stuff, which I think is really fascinating because, like I said, it's something that I've wanted to get into. I just don't really know where to start. And I think, when I've asked people, they're like, yeah, I'll come over. I'll teach you all this stuff. And then it just never happens because COVID and stuff. So, but yeah, so I'm interested in it. And yeah, I'm glad that we are talking about it. So.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, listen, it's the kind of thing where you could read articles about it all day long, but you're never going to get it until you start like using them. Like you go out, maybe you buy an NFT or you mint your own or whatever it is, get your hands dirty a little and get your feet wet. And it starts to make a little bit more sense after a while.
Yeah.
Thomas just had a question. He was saying, does NFT art have to be specific to cryptocurrency to gain traction?
So the thing is no. However, the thing about an NFT is it's built. The reason why an NFT can exist is because it's on a blockchain. Now, what's so special about a blockchain? I've thrown the word around a lot. Maybe you've all seen it in mainstream media a lot. The blockchain it's an append only, means you can only add to it, can't change it. Append only data structure, such that the only way to add something is if everyone agrees that you have it. Okay, and the reason why you have these blockchains is essentially to create decentralization, to create institutions, to create currencies that are not governed by a specific central point of failure. Now, why do blockchains need a cryptocurrency? Well, because the way that blockchains are able to be maintained and verified and actually be like legitimate is that you have these things called miners and verifiers or validators who are constantly verifying that everything's happening is legitimate. And in order for that service, they have to be compensated in some form of a currency, which is a cryptocurrency. So it doesn't necessarily have to be in a cryptocurrency, but this ecosystem lends itself really well for NFTs. Now, you would be right in saying that I could create a company right now that issues you NFTs and stores your ownership in a database in my server room in my building in Las Vegas. But the problem is with that is if my building blows up or goes on fire or I hit a wrong button and delete my database, your NFT ownership disappears forever. However, because it's on a blockchain, which in itself is governed by a cryptocurrency, you know that unless, of course, this blockchain decides to turn off forever, which is a very difficult thing to do because people are incentivized to keep it going, that it's essentially there ad infinitum in perpetuity forever. So it's infinite ownership. So that's why you sort of need a blockchain for this specific application, and then by default a cryptocurrency because you need cryptocurrencies to keep a blockchain alive. And
the fact that it's decentralized is what makes it so much more secure, because there is no central, like if one server were to shut down in like, let's say even a whole state's internet were to shut down, that still wouldn't necessarily like impact the blockchain significantly because that data is being verified by hundreds of thousands of computers that are all over the world that are all communicating together. So it's not like, you know, this building that's full of servers burns down and so now all of that data is lost. It's, you know, it's being verified throughout the world.
Correct. Bingo. Exactly. So that's why you do need cryptocurrency and by default the blockchain to be able to create these mechanisms. It's a good question, actually. Very good question.
So now onto, you know, while we have Giancarlo here, with what you did, Giancarlo, and what we were talking about earlier, the idea of like minting something in order to claim ownership or assert that for the future of Magic. Do we feel like, because I feel like some people that are hearing about this, like for example, like Thomas in the comments, he was bringing up how he's an artist as well, and he's not sure if his artwork was something that would be marketable. And then there's also the element of, it seems like in order for an NFT to be successful, you usually need to have some element of a fan base, but that's only in the economic, like selling of them value, what we were talking about before. And what you were saying, Michael, earlier is like, you don't need to sell your NFT. You can also just use this as a verifiable, like I've minted this and now it's in the blockchain and that shows its authenticity. So is it advisable, if we're talking about like a future focused vision for Magic, is it advisable for Magic creators to start now and just start minting stuff? Is that valuable? But it's also the thing that you were talking about, if it doesn't exist within a centralized DAO that we all look to as the kind of like pinnacle of like this is what represents the Magic community as a whole, then it doesn't have that kind of ownership like claim that you can really discern. So do you need to like, are you able to take something that's already previously been minted and then bring it over to that DAO later on when that DAO becomes more established years down the line? So it would incentivize a creator now to just start? Or I'm curious about your both of your thoughts on like how the future of Magic looks utilizing NFTs.
Definitely. And Michael and I, we had a lot of conversations about what this would look like. But the overall, I would say, I'm always, and this is just in general, not just regarding NFTs, of the opinion of, you know, throw a bunch of stuff at the wall and see what sticks and like just try things. And so like, I'm always like, yeah, if you have a trick you've invented, make an NFT, like not losing any, like, yes, you're feel like, oh, you know, do I want to spend my time on this? Is it worth my time? It's like, if you have the time, then it's worth your time because this might become a huge thing or it might never take off, you know? It's like when Dogecoin, like, you know, Elon might tweet something, he might not, you know, like, I'm not saying be recklessly gambling, but I'm saying like,
it depends on how many times he's on SNL,
right?
Whether it's good to invest or not.
But I say, if you can make an NFT, make an NFT, and maybe it'll be worth something once the system exists, or maybe it'll just crash and burn. Who knows? Do it. Do things and see if they work. That's what when we made the first one, like, why would we make an NFT? And our whole mindset was like, let's just do it, and then after we make it, let's figure out why it matters that we made it. Like, let's figure out what's the big deal about a Magic NFT after we do it. But for now, let's just do it.
So do it for the sake of doing it.
Do things.
Do you agree? Do you agree with that, Michael? Like, just do it for the sake of doing it. I don't know if he's lagged out a little bit, a wee bit laggedy.
He's a little frozen. That's a great
or he's just sleepy time.
It is a great frozen face. Oh, there he is. Michael,
can you hear us?
Fantastic face, which may become a meme, and then put up.
I don't think he can hear us.
I don't think he can hear us. No, he dropped out. Oh no, and they're seeing through our. Oh no, they're seeing through the outline. Okay.
That doesn't.
Well, now it's the Giancarlo show again.
Yeah. That other guy talked way too much, right? Wow.
I don't have anything smart to say though. I can just talk about Jello for a bit.
But this was a good question I thought that Thomas asked, and maybe you could answer this. He says, "Does it have to be digital art typically?"
What is art? It is digital art usually, but I don't think it has to be. I've seen examples of things that aren't. I don't know. I mean, I assume he's talking about digital art, like a JPEG file, like a picture.
Yeah, like a picture or something. That's what I would think. Yeah.
But some of them are, you've got music files. You'd have to have some kind of cover. Like, for example, with the Magic NFT, it's interesting because the picture of the file is nothing interesting. To me, what's artistically valuable is the PDF with the instructions.
Yeah. So
it's not
here's a question, because you said that it could be music. Does this become like the new? I'm going to say Napster. I'm going to go way back to Napster, where it wasn't in one centralized place. It was everybody that downloaded that song had it, and then you would essentially take it from them, right? So it was like, it really depended. The more people that own that song on their computer, the faster that download would be because you owned it or you were getting it from all of these people, right? I think it's the same when you go to streaming. If I'm streaming, like, let's say I'm streaming a movie, and it's like, okay, 9,000 people have this movie on their account. I'm streaming it from there. It's going to be a lot faster, better quality and stuff than if one person has it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So you're describing piracy, it is the idea of like seeding, and it doesn't have to be necessarily in terms of piracy.
Yeah, it is just like torrenting. Yeah, seed. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I'm not trying to diss you.
What was this in relation to like downloading NFT content? Sorry, I cut out. I couldn't hear the original question.
Oh, so Thomas asked if it had to be typically if it was digital art, and then Giancarlo said that he's seen music on there.
Oh,
and I just said with music, is that something like it? Then it almost becomes like Napster back in the day, where if multiple people can buy this and it's seeded everywhere, I was just asking the similarities of that, basically.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm playing the super dumb guy. I mean, I'm really a cryptocurrency genius. I have everything. I've got Bitcoin, Dogecoin, everything. But I got to play the stupid guy for all the other old guys that are watching that have no idea what any of this stuff is. So I got to play devil's advocate.
It's a good question. And the answer is, so all NFT media, music, images, PDFs, regardless what it is living on a decentralized file service. There are two of them. One is called Arweave. The other is called IPFS. They both sort of function like torrenting, like they're a relationship to how that works, but they are fundamentally very different. But just for sake of explanation, the answer is yes, it's very similar to torrenting in terms of downloading the files.
Yeah. So
that just came up, like it popped in, and I was like, oh, it kind of seems like there's a similarity there, anyways. But easier to explain to old people what torrenting is than Bitcoin.
So bringing it back to like what I was asking before you lagged out, Michael, was like no worries. Yeah. So the idea of like, for the kind of future outlook of, Magic now, you mentioned earlier, you kind of brought it up, if we think future focused, almost as if, and you use the word dystopian view where everything was dictated by blockchain. What is the in-between practical future that we see, especially specifically related to Magic, in which, we are utilizing NFTs properly in order to, say, protect ownership or whatever, or transact, different elements of methodology, or just performance rights and things like that, or just for someone to claim ownership? You were talking earlier about the DAO and how we would need to have some kind of centralized agreement of like, this is the community agreeing on this. Should magicians that are Magic creators just start minting NFTs now? I mean, I know that there's some cost associated with that.
Yes.
But is it just a good thing to do as an artist that is future focused?
I don't really have an opinion. I think if you want to, if you create a trick of your own and you want to, obviously you don't mint someone else's trick, right? Yeah. And you want to put it in an NFT, and again, kind of like what I was saying before, maybe the secret might not be necessary. Just the description of the effect. I mean, go for it. There's no harm. And yes, there is a cost to it. And I also think it's important to know that if you're minting it on any of these platforms that are gonna, I don't expect you to write your own smart contract, right? If you're gonna just do it using a third-party service, which is I think most people should do because it's easier. It's important to also remember that actually, when you press mint, it's actually not really on the blockchain yet. You have to trade it first. So what that means is that you almost have to, I think that's just what Giancarlo did, is he had to send it to a friend first and then send it back to himself, which is basically how it actually then is baked in the blockchain. That's the thing. So, look, I don't think there's a harm in it. There's a cost, and depending on the day, that cost will change. That's important too. Last night, it may have, I'll tell you exactly. Actually, about 2 weeks ago, I minted an NFT not through a third. So I am a programmer. So I when I mint my NFTs, or not all of them, but some of them, I'm doing it from scratch. I'm not using a third party service for a couple of different reasons. Because it's more authentically me. Like it actually is my signature that's on it, not the platforms that's actually creating it. And when I did that, so just to give you an example, the other day, it was very, very expensive to mint the NFT. And I did one 2 weeks ago, very expensive. And then a week ago, it was 4 times less expensive because of the price of the transaction fee changes every second. So if you're going to do it, be aware that you're going to have a cost. It's not going to be like astronomically expensive. If you're doing what I'm doing, it might be. But if you're just doing it on a third-party platform, maybe it's $20 or $50 or.
That's about what I was going to ask. Is what is like a base? If you said here's the cost.
Well, if you're doing it from scratch, like from pure scratch, to give you the perspective. So for me, the expensive one was $400. But if you're doing it for yourself and you're not doing it from scratch and you're using a third-party platform, it could be, I'd say as low as 6, as much as on a bad day, let's say 50 on average. So it changes. So make sure you're aware of that, maybe you should wait and do it when it's good to do it.
Giancarlo, when you did yours months ago, how expensive was it?
I think it was pretty expensive because we didn't do it, even though we did it on Rarible. We decided to not use their contract but use our own contract, and that used a lot more gas. Michael, do you know why that is? Why there's more gas when you don't go through their contract?
Yeah, because when you do it through them, first of all, when you mint it, it's not actually minted yet. They don't mint it till you transfer it or until you sell it. And when you sell it, what happens is these platforms, they take a fee. So it's part of their cost of doing business. So they're going to mint it for you. They'll pay the fee. but they also get a portion of your sale. Also, they're not necessarily doing it right there and then. So, for example, Nifty Gateway, even though I might have my NFT sale at 9 o'clock in the morning, it might not actually be on the blockchain until 12 o'clock at night, because they're going to try and minimize their cost basis and mint it when it's most fortunate for them. So, yeah. Versus when I'm doing it myself, I am bearing all the cost completely.
Right.
Thomas had a good question. He says, does it depend on how much you ask for the piece?
Yeah.
So, or it's just like that second transaction. It's whether you ask $69 million or you ask $25, it's all the same.
Yeah. So it doesn't, the price of the piece has nothing to do with the actual fee paid to mint it on the blockchain. When you long story short, this is actually also a good, like, for people who don't know, these are good things to know. Long story short, when you like do anything on the blockchain or transact, essentially what you're doing is whatever, at the end of the day, whatever you are doing is running some code somewhere. If you're sending me cryptocurrency, or if you're interacting with the NFT, it's running some piece of code, and that code needs to be executed by a miner or someone who's holding up the network. And essentially, the transaction fee is you're basically paying per line of code that they need to execute. You're paying for computational power. And that's why it's called gas. So like in your car, you have gas. This is your gas to do things on the network. So it's a little complicated, but it's a good thing to know that there's this thing called gas, especially on Ethereum, that you pay when you make a transaction. And it's going to vary based on the complexity of what you're actually doing on the network.
And that's the amount of computational power that is necessary in order to execute that thing, or the amount of computational power you are purchasing in order to
execute. So for example, if I create an NFT, what does end up happening is you have this piece of code that needs to be stored on the blockchain. And then also it needs to be executed such that there's my digital signature on it and things like that. All that, the act of storing it on the blockchain, you're paying for space partially, right? You're paying for space on the blockchain. And then you're also paying for all of the code that's executed to actually initialize this NFT. So you're literally paying for a computation, is the most accurate way to look at it.
I see. Gotcha. Interesting. Because I've heard of people talking about the environmental impact of NFTs. And that is a whole interesting conversation. Are they just talking about the amount of electricity necessary in order to run this many systems to execute that kind of code? Is that the only environmental impact?
Okay, so
or is there some other kind of thing?
What they mean that it's environmentally bad based. Okay, so the way that blockchains work under the hood is under some sort of what they call a consensus algorithm. Some agreement between nodes on the network or computers holding up the network that they have to agree on new transactions, right? They have to have some way to, at a level of consensus, agree that something is accurate. And what is that? Like, what is that algorithm, right? Well, it just so happens that Bitcoin and Ethereum today, but not in a couple weeks from now, let's just say 8-9 months, is under a type of proof of work consensus algorithm. And proof of work is the name of the algorithm, and it itself is computationally intensive, and it itself takes up a lot of energy. Actually, the things with NFTs have nothing to do with that. I'll tell you right now, the cost, okay, I'll give you a fun metric. The cost, the amount of lines of code to mint an NFT, to mint it, is 5, maybe 3 lines of code that need to be executed and 1 slot of storage. That's very technically true. I'm not exaggerating. When you do a Google search, you're executing 200,000 to 500,000 lines of code. So when people are talking about computational power, it's null and mute NFTs. What they're probably referencing more so is that the network itself, not just NFTs, but everything going on in the network, is under this thing called proof of work, which does consume a lot of energy, even though a lot of big mining firms, which would be the ones consuming energy, actually use solar panels already, because they want to lower their costs, right? Because they're making money by mining Bitcoin. They want to lower their costs. But that being said, Ethereum, there are no NFTs on the Bitcoin network. Right now, they're mainly on Ethereum. In 9 months, Ethereum is moving to a proof of stake consensus mechanism, which is much more energy efficient, like astronomically better. So almost like that argument will be just like it won't matter.
That
So
will be
people are aware of this.
point very soon. Okay,
Yeah.
so before we, because I'd like to talk with Michael also about just like your journey in magic and things separate, but I feel like it would be unfair to Giancarlo to have you just be chilling here while we do a whole separate like thing, just asking about stuff that's outside of this kind of conversation. But while you're still here, the thing that I wanted to ask was something I kind of brought up earlier, was like, between what we currently have, where the technology is, as both of you said, like too new, and where it went, and before we get to say dystopian future where we're dictated by blockchain entirely, what is the practical future that you see with how magicians will interact and best utilize NFTs in the next few years, let's say?
Giancarlo, do you want to answer? Or
Yeah,
I have an answer.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it just, I think what it depends on is how quickly it's embraced by the community. And I think that our generation of magicians is going to grow up in a world where NFTs are very prominent. So we're going to kind of integrate magic slowly into NFTs along with everything else, because I don't think NFTs are going anywhere. But if we want to be ahead of the curve, if we want to actually be innovative, I think we just need to get people to buy in. And I don't know if they're going to or not. Those are my thoughts.
So my answer is interesting. I think what we said before is totally valid. I think if you have a trick, you want to try to make it an NFT, I think go for it. I think there's no harm in it. You're going to be one of the first to do it. Giancarlo was the first. You're going to be one of the first. And if there is such a thing as a DAO in the future that needs to be built, then it can certainly be transferred over and be included. However, and this is what keeps me up at night, there's a whole other avenue that magicians can look at this, okay? And this avenue is, I'm going to kind of like, I'll drop like the idea, and maybe, I don't know, Blaze and Ryan, if we could do a whole 3-hour discussion on this topic itself, because it's going to open up another Pandora's box. But right now we've been talking about magic in relation to intellectual property, performance rights, voting.
Magician to magician.
Right. But let's just take a step back for a second. Before the iPhone, we all just did card tricks. All of a sudden, there's this thing called an iPhone, and now we're all doing wiki tests, right? We all do magic with our phones. We all do magic with technology. We will do magic with the blockchain, okay? There are going to be tricks, things that I'm working on currently, and hopefully magicians are creative in the future, where sort of how actually the NFT that I did is kind of like the first incarnation of that, which is, yeah, the NFT itself performs a trick. Like it creates entertainment itself to an audience. But at the same time, magicians can use the blockchain as a way to do magic. And I think there are a lot of, I think the reason why I'm bringing this up now is because I think this is a time for magicians to start thinking about it. I don't think this is going to be so applicable tomorrow. I think this is going to be applicable in a year or two, but we got to start thinking now, because the blockchain provides a way for us to, one, be with the times. Like, we do tricks with Instagram. Like, why not do magic with the blockchain? But at the same time, it creates a really interesting presentation aspect for magicians that you will never get in any other way. And here's what it is. Right now, if you're a mentalist, like I'll give you the mentalist example, okay? You have to go through an conscious effort to prove to your audience that whatever was in the box, hanging from the stage, was there before the show and is legitimate, right? That is a whole part of being a magician. You need to prove to your audience that what you're doing is fair, right? Have them shuffle the cards. Have them use a fair force. Any of these things. All of a sudden, you have this technology that is accepted as fair. As in, when there's something on the blockchain, there's no convincing. People know, just because it's there, that it's verifiably there. It can't be manipulated, or so people think, okay? It can't be manipulated. That's for the magicians out there, right? And yeah, it's basically, it does it takes out that whole time. I'm not going to call it wasted time, but time used to prove something. Now, this has a lot of interesting applications. There are even more interesting applications besides this. So I'll give you another interesting idea. So before we talked about proper performance rights. Well, what happens if I build a technological magic trick on the blockchain such that there is literally an app on the blockchain that, like Wikitest, is an app on your phone, but there's an app on the blockchain that performs something. All of a sudden, now this performance rights issue completely works. Here's why. Because now you need to interact with this smart contract to perform it. But now I can whitelist you. In other words, if I'm selling you my trick to perform this smart contract, you need an Ethereum address to interact with the smart contract to perform the trick. If you buy it, I will put you on a list that gives you permission to use it. Anyone else who tries, you just won't be able to use it. It just like will fail. Like the transactions will fail. You won't be able to use the trick. It literally won't work. You can't duplicate it, right? So here's a way that actually gives someone performance rights, like very strictly, in the sense that you literally need to own this to perform this effect. Of course, there are other avenues of this. Of like, I mean, you guys, like, listen. I know magicians. Take a weekend. Pull up the website called etherscan.io, which is basically a way to visualize the blockchain and everything that's going on the Ethereum blockchain. Look around. You guys are going to have a million ideas of things that you can do. And, you know, I think that magicians who can do magic on the blockchain, it's the next Instagram. It's the next iPhone. And I think I'll leave it at that. You know, I'll let the creative juices flow. But I think that is a whole totally viable avenue for magicians to use this technology, NFTs or not, just like in general, that I think is extremely powerful and interesting.
It's exciting. Yeah, that's something that I don't know anything about that realm, but I'm excited to see what you come up with, Michael, and I'd love to talk more about that with you.
We need to have some conversations off air about that.
Off air, I'll tell you some cool stuff.
These are now going to be off-air conversations.
Yeah. But I think it seems to me that both of you have the perspective, you know, that it's like, even though this isn't widely accepted technology now, this is an opportunity for us to get in on the future, you know, and we should, you know, take up that opportunity, because everybody wishes that they could have, you know, gotten in on that thing that ended up being really successful early on, you know, and this is something that has a lot of potential to be, you know, very widespread.
Magic After Dark just became the CES convention. And you are now learning about stuff before it comes out, before it becomes mainstream. So get on it now.
And, you know, I think you're pretty smart guys, but we got to know how smart before we let you go, Giancarlo.
Okay.
We got to know.
It's that time. It's time for my favorite rhyme. It's time for the IQ test. Let's see if you're better than the rest. It's time for the IQ test. Let's see if you're better than the rest. Did your teachers call you smart? Or more of an epidemic brain fart? It's about time we see. Can you count? 1, 2, 3. Let's see if the answers will agree. Can you count? 1, 2, 3.
You made a full rap. That's been a debut. It's so long.
It's long.
It's so long.
Right there, folks.
Did you say epidemic brain fart?
Oh yeah, I did. I was like, what fits in this? And then I was on Epidemic Sound, and I was like, epidemic brain fart.
These songs are too much, man.
So the best thing, yeah, my favorite part of the day.
That's my favorite part of the show. All right. So, question 1 of the IQ test.
Oh, you both answering this?
You both answer this, yeah.
Yeah.
How do you put a giraffe in a refrigerator?
You open the door, put it in.
Michael?
I'll second that. I think that's pretty logical, I guess.
What do you do after that?
Close the door.
Yeah.
Man, these guys just too smart.
We got some
My boy's wicked smart. What's going on here? Yes, the correct answer is open the refrigerator, put the giraffe in, and close the door. This question tests whether you're doing simple things in a complicated way. Man. Oh. Well. You guys are really good. This could be
a very quick,
off to a crazy good start.
Yeah.
But how do you put an elephant into a refrigerator?
You open the door. You
Take the giraffe
is
out.
is the giraffe still in the fridge?
Yeah, you just put him in there.
So what did Michael say? What was the answer you just gave?
You open it up, take the giraffe out, put the elephant in, and close the door.
Guys, what's going on here?
I feel like they found this IQ test, or Michael did some research before coming on.
You guys did too much recon on this. What's going on? Man. Yes, the correct answer is open the refrigerator, take out the giraffe, put in the elephant, and close the door. Most people say open the refrigerator, put in the elephant, and close the door, leaving out the fact that the giraffe is in there, which you both picked up on. This tests your ability to think through the repercussions of your actions.
It's not fair with coders.
It's not fair. What's going on, man?
Yeah.
All right, but
Thomas says, does the fridge have Noah's Ark capabilities?
The Lion King is hosting an animal conference. All the animals attend except one. Which animal does not attend?
Ooh.
Oh, the stumper.
The elephant. Following the theme of the rest of the questions, I'll go with the elephant because
I'm going to second that. I'll second the elephant.
I mean, that's just because the first two were sequentially related. So I'm going to assume that you're going to try and pull a fast one, and the third one's going to be sequentially related as well.
Anybody got a different answer? Anybody got a? The correct answer is the elephant. The elephant is in the refrigerator. This tests your memory.
All right. Don't worry. We're gonna switch it up for question 4.
Switch it up for question 4.
It is the kicker question.
Yes, this is the kicker question.
All right. Flow. Fourth question is: there is a river that you must cross, but is inhabited by crocodiles. How do you solve the problem?
Is
the river is inhabited by crocodiles?
I'm aware. I just want to.
Oh, wait a minute! No, wait! You just crossed it. All the alligators are at the crocodiles are at the party, the Lion King party.
That's too smart. I was stumped by that. That's good.
By cross it, what would you do to cross the river?
I would just cross it because there's no crocodiles. They're all at the Lion King conference.
Like a bridge?
There's no bridge.
I could swim because the crocodiles aren't even there.
This man's too smart.
Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Blau has
steamrolled the IQ test. The smartest guest we have ever had. Yes, you swim across all the crocodiles are attending the animal conference.
The only other one to get them all right was Colin Cloud.
Colin Cloud. Out of all the guests, Aussie, nope. Not even close. But Colin Cloud,
I'm curious to know what Ozzy's.
Ozzy had the most hilarious answers. He got all 4 wrong, but he had the most hilarious answer.
Yeah, I think we gave him a half a mark on one of them, maybe.
You've never seen these questions before.
I saw the first 2, not the last one. Sorry.
I didn't see the last 2. And then the blowout from something.
Both of these guys just dropped down on the.
I think we take away points. Maybe we'll just kick Michael off and keep Giancarlo here instead.
Yeah, we got some cheaters on this.
Man, I'm not a fan. Not a fan of this style.
They pretended very well until the very. That's a great question. Let me think about that. Open the door.
Man, guys got too much Google access.
Yeah,
he's using up all this energy. 200,000.
Just the first two. I'll take the credit for the second two. First two.
They only lead into the other 2, so you already knew the pattern.
Right.
Even Thomas, who has been a big fan of this tonight, is booing.
Yeah.
Sorry, Thomas.
Wow, Thomas has been the most engaged. Yeah.
So,
Thomas was asking the real questions. You know,
Yeah.
does the fridge have Noah's Ark capabilities? You know,
Yeah.
back to bring it right back to our religious talk earlier. You know,
yeah, he did not look up the answers before coming on.
Oh my gosh, I love your new rap. That was the first time I'd heard it in its entirety with the
really?
the new ending, because you changed the ending up a little bit.
Just a little bit, yeah. I think I might redo it, but it was trying to find a beat that was okay to rap to, because
Epidemic brain fart is so many syllables, man.
Yep.
try saying it. Great. Epidemic brain fart.
But you guys are too smart for this. You guys are the smartest contestants that we've had on the IQ test. But yes, thank you so much, guys.
First
This was
cheaters.
a lot of fun.
Yeah. So guys, what we'd like to do? Can we do this now, Blaze? Do we do it now? Do we ask them a question?
For the giveaway?
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally.
So every week we do a giveaway for a free download from I almost said from Magic After Dark, from Lost Art Magic. So it's any download that anybody wants on there, but they have to answer a question and comment below on YouTube or Twitch, whatever they're watching on. So we like to ask a question that came up in the segment. So should we ask? Here's an easy question that if they've been watching for a little while, they'll know. I'll just throw this one out there. What was the highest selling, or what was the dollar amount for the highest selling NFT?
Don't Google.
Yeah, and don't Google. I feel like that's a pretty easy question.
There's actually something really ironic about the answer to that question. I'll point out in a second.
That guy was quick. He did not Google search that.
He did not Google this.
Boom.
39 million.
Raghav Gupta. I know Raghav. He actually competed in the 1v1 Magic competition. And,
nice.
Yeah. So if you're interested in joining the Magic Discord, go to 1v1magic.com. You can hang out with other magicians just like us. A bunch of us are on there. Michael hasn't joined yet, but he's going to.
I didn't get an invite.
Definitely. Well, there it is.
Kind of like an NFT, Mike. There was only a certain number given out.
1v1magic.com. There we go.
So the just to clarify for all the people whose minds are in the gutter right now, what I meant by ironic is that today's date is 6/9.
9.
That's the date today. So it's 69 million, and that's the date today, and that's the only ironic thing about it. That's the only fun.
The question was
69. My favorite type of blockchain.
I kept it kind of easy because sometimes
Michael,
that is the winning line of this entire conversation.
Yeah, that's going to be that 100% is going to be on the blooper reel.
Yeah, I'm sure my Catholic audience is loving this right now.
They love it, man.
Yeah.
We're talking about the date. That's all I'm talking about.
Yeah. But how do you pronounce the guy's name? That one?
I think it's Raghav. Raghav.
Yeah. I didn't want to pronounce it wrong. I didn't know if you knew 100%.
Raghav.
Raghav.
Can you type out phonetics? So we know.
If you hit up myself on mentalism.ca on Instagram or hit up Blaze over there, let us know what download you want from Lost Art Magic, and we will make sure that it comes your way.
Yeah, I got it right. Awesome.
So,
but this has been a blast. I think it's actually, we've been going for 3 hours. We should probably. I wanted to go and do a whole other thing about our journeys in Magic with Michael. And
the crazy thing is, we're back tomorrow night.
We are back tomorrow night. Yes, with another guest. We're gonna be on. Yes.
But we'll announce it after we kick these two brainiacs off.
Yeah, these two cheaters, really.
Two cheaters. Yeah. They are taking the walk of shame. But I would love to talk to you guys after about some NFT stuff because I have some ideas that I think are pretty cool. So, but already thinking.
Definitely.
So.
Love it.
But thank you guys so much for joining us. You have enlightened us on the world of cryptocurrency and NFTs and everything that goes into them and behind them. And I know that we have only touched the tip of the iceberg on this.
Yeah.
But as someone who went into this knowing very, very little about NFTs, I feel like I've learned so much, and I really appreciate both of you guys being able to be so articulate about specifically how this can apply to like magic in the art form, and I also be able to explain such a complicated topic in a way that I think was very accessible and easy for all of the viewers to understand. You know, is at least my interpretation.
Thank you for having us. This has been so much fun. Really, so much fun.
I'm still thinking about lasagna genres.
Dude, yeah. We have to do it. We have to come up for air, you know? Like, the thing is, what we've found is we've gotten into a lot of, like, really deep emotional topics, and then the lasagna comes out of nowhere, and it just really is just like, boom! You know, it's really the saving grace of any, you know?
It is. And it's
there's got to be some kind of, there's some mentalism trick in there about, like, predicting, like, the order of a lasagna, like the layers.
Yeah.
Like, I've been working on this thing called Predict a Kebab, where you predict the order of things on a shish kebab.
Oh,
so maybe
cool.
something
That's fun.
go with it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, soon enough it will be on Spotify so that you could download it. And I'm figuring by Magic Live, everybody will be listening to lasagna. It's just my prediction.
Yeah, I have a question. So, Michael, how do I pronounce X0R?
Good question. XOR.
XOR.
Yeah.
It's not Zor. It's not Zor. It's not Z0R.
XOR. And XOR is the name, literally the word XOR is the name of a, sorry for the technical definition, but it's very hard to not be technical. It's a binary digit mathematical operation that occurs between zeros and ones. That is a key ingredient to a lot of cryptographic ciphers. So it is the word XOR is very meaningful, especially to the type of art that I make. So if you have seen my art, it will make a lot of sense because it's all very technical code related stuff. So yeah,
it's really cool looking.
It's really, really dope. And so, so also for anybody that's joining more recently, I think that the two guests that we have were the perfect mesh for talking about magic and NFTs, because Giancarlo released the first and minted the first magic NFT that was made by magicians for exchange of methods, and was interested in the way that magic can, the magic community can utilize NFTs within the community. Whereas Michael created what I believe is the most successful magic NFT that's come out, and that is called, it's Hardin, right?
Hardin.
Is that Hardin?
Yeah, I named it. I felt it the most accurate thing to do is to name it after the creator of the Princess card trick. So Henry Hardin is the creator, so that's why it's called Hardin.
And Hardin ended up selling for over $20,000. $20,050 is the highest bid.
But Michael, we're coming for you. We are coming to take your record. Put it out there. Magic After Dark, baby.
Man, you've never seen lasagna sell for that high.
You never know. You never know.
The lasagna NFT prediction system is coming.
Yeah. It's a lasagna on a shish kebab. And so,
the layers of separated.
And and you haven't minted it, Giancarlo, so we can claim it.
We're getting this. We're on top of this tonight.
We're on top
I'm not
of it,
going
man.
to sleep.
But if you're interested in checking out Michael Blau's artwork, please go look up XOR on Nifty Gateway, and check out his amazing artwork. That a lot of it is made of code, and so you have this beautiful imagery made of code. That is the code required to make it, right?
Yeah. So it is code generated code art. So I'm not a graphic designer. It is all generated by code that I wrote, and it itself is code. And you could also, if you wanted to see the artwork, it's on x0rart.com. And you can see both the collections there, or Nifty Gateway, either way.
And if you'd like to check out Giancarlo Bernini and see his shows, you can go to berninimagic.com. So BERNINI magic.com. He's doing virtual shows. He's doing live shows. He's killing it in the magic game. And Michael, are you doing shows? You're an amazing magician. We didn't get to talk about your magic side.
We did not.
Yeah.
Currently, no. I just graduated college a week ago, and
congratulations.
Most of my time has been, working in crypto and stuff. So, on crypto magic tricks, no. No, but I recently, unfortunately, I haven't really been performing. COVID kind of, hurt that a bit. So, yeah, unfortunately not. Sorry, I don't have any shows to point you in the direction to.
But it's all right. No, but they can definitely check out your artwork, and also if they're interested in seeing like your social media, we have all that linked in the YouTube description and everything. They can check you out on Instagram.
I also got I'll pitch. I also got a free app on the App Store. It's a free magic trick. It's called AR Psychic. It's an augmented reality magic trick. It's super easy to do. It's free. Go download it. It's fun. You'll enjoy it. So, yeah, if you want to check that out as well.
Sweet. I'm gonna check that out.
Alrighty. Well, should we end the show altogether?
We should probably tell them that we'll be back tomorrow night.
Yes.
At 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with our special guest, Spidey. So Spidey will be on talking mentalism, hypnosis, all kinds of crazy TV stuff. And we had him on before on Instagram Live, and it was a crazy, crazy night. So he's now coming back to join us tomorrow night on YouTube. So make sure to tune in. But thank you guys again for coming on. I think that's a good way to do it. End it all together.
Thank you for having us. This is awesome.
We know how you guys don't know how this goes, but we got to end it the way we started. Ready? Everybody get your hands up, and we're going into the Matrix, into the blockchain. 3, 2, 1. This has been Magic After Dark. See you tomorrow night.